Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel, to what was supposed to be, of course, yesterday, a live reaction and player ratings live stream following Chelsea 2, Watford 1. But as I explained on Friday, or on Saturday rather, I was not available yesterday to actually watch the game. I've not watched all of it back since then, but I've watched some extended highlights, I know what happened. But instead I thought, okay, the day after, why, instead of just focusing on that Watford game, which no one really gave a shit about, let's just focus on the whole season. Because what we do is give player ratings. So why don't we do that for the entire squad for the entire season? Now, I will try my very hardest to not let this get too long. Also, Pice doesn't have all day either. Not sure how long Clutch has got, but I don't have all day. But Charlie should be joining us in about half an hour's time. So we will be adding another lovely face to the panel. But there's a lot to get through. There is a lot to get through. Of course, Mason Mount was named Player of the Year as voted by the fans. Did he deserve it? Did he not? Was Thiago Silva robbed? Was Antonio Rüdiger robbed? Who was robbed? Was anybody robbed? Does anybody care really who wins Player of the Year in your club when you don't win anything? And I know we won a Club World Cup and a Super Cup. Kind of still last season in my head. But yeah, there's a lot to get through. But to start things off with, I will start by welcoming my two wonderful guests. Pice, I'll start with you. You were at the game yesterday. How was the game? Like, you know how the result was and kind of how the performance was, but how did it feel in the ground? Was it preseason vibes again, but in a bad way, or was it in a decent way? Well, what would you make of it?
It was absolutely shambolic, is what I make of it. It is honestly, I'm not shitting you, Laurenz. I've been to a lot of home games this season. I don't care. 4-1 Brentford, all that. In terms of what I watched and what, just the game in general, that was one of the worst. Honestly, it was so bad. I don't know what the players were doing. It was like they didn't, it's almost like Tuchel said, just go out there and pass the ball about. I don't know what we was doing. Every time we actually went forward, you'd kind of the crowd would kind of be like, oh, go on then, and then they'd turn back, like Ziyech, Reece James, Mason Mount. It was almost like it was a challenge not to score or something. I don't know what happened. There was some sort of hidden clause in their contracts which said, if you don't, you know what I mean? It was we was all thinking what the fuck is going on here? We passed the ball sideways for 90 minutes. I don't know how we scored late on. Watford, to credit them, they weren't a typical relegation side. They were decent. They were decent on the ball. But us, I don't know what the plan was. I mean, Tuchel, I love Tuchel, but come on, he was sitting down the whole game. At least show some, you know what I mean? For me, I was just really disappointed because, the last day of the season, it's kind of like Arsenal, they won 5-1. Even, you know what I mean? I know we've secured third, but at least show some effort.
But Arsenal had something to fight for, to be honest. Only if Spurs dropped points, but still they had something.
Yeah, but at least show some effort. Go out on a high. Go out and, you know what I mean? Score 3-4 goals. They literally, it was embarrassing. Honestly, it was a really, really bad game, but in the end we won. I mean, it even got to the point where I think from 70 minutes onwards, most of us were all on our phones checking the scores, and I've never seen this ever before, right? But when Watford scored, we were singing the Steve Gerrard Slip song, and when Watford scored, we were midway through it, and it just continued. The fans didn't care about the result. Tuchel didn't care. The players didn't care, and we still somehow won. I don't know. It was really, really bad. I know a lot of people. I was gonna go on a rant on Twitter, but I thought, you know what? Fuck it. There's no point. I was actually pissed, but oh well. I mean, it is what it is. I was just shocked at how. What was the mentality? Last game of the season, just go and go out on a high. I didn't like some of the players coming on as well. I know Ross Barkley scored, but Malang Sarr coming on, it just felt. I don't even know. It was worse than pre-season vibes to me. It was really, really bad inside the stadium.
Yeah, I mean that's the vibe I got from the highlights I watched, but it's not ideal to hear you say. I mean, I know you disagree with that, and we've kind of disagreed already in the group chat. I think Clutch is kind of in between us on this topic, but I'm not surprised at what you just explained whatsoever. The team selection with the entire squad, not just the 11 that started, but also the bench. That's what it showed. And if you want to avoid such a game, in my opinion, where no one gives a shit, give some young players a chance, because they will actually try and care, because for them, this is a big chance. Malang Sarr didn't give a shit. I mean, maybe him more than most others. But Saúl knows he ain't staying. He's going back. Rüdiger, all he wanted was to be subbed off, apparently. Well, not in a negative way, but he wanted his moment, which I think is a bit weird. Like that he asked for that, bit weird. I mean, I'm thankful for everything that he's done. I'm not as upset at him anymore because, hey, it is what it is. You can't expect loyalty from anybody. But and then the bench, like you just mentioned, Barkley and Sarr. I'm just like, at least a couple of the youngsters. Hey, if they don't start, at least put them on the bench, man. Because then there's something that the fans would care about. They're like, okay, we haven't seen much of him, guys, so we'll pay attention. How does he do? And these players, like I say, they will like try to show themselves. Well, the players that played yesterday, they obviously didn't care. The third was secured in the league. There was nothing like the ones that are leaving know that they're leaving or know that they want to leave, and the ones that are staying, they know that they're staying because we're not gonna like other than maybe a team of Werner or one or two others, which could would be minorly surprising. It's not like the club are going to force anyone. I'm not surprised. That's why I think it's poor. The team that was picked and the bench that was picked. Clutch. Just quickly, thoughts yesterday's game. I mean, when Barkley's debut, it wasn't a good day. At the same time, I will say Kai Havertz partly, he's a bit too nice sometimes because he could have easily taken that goal from Barkley and just headed it or somehow pushed it over the line after obviously Backerman got a touch on it after Barkley's header. But he didn't let Barkley have the goal. But what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm going to start with you went super robot-y for about a minute and a half of that. So
shit.
I have no idea what you said.
I honestly thought my internet was just about to crash.
Or was it my internet? My God. See, this is triggering me. My internet was very rarely a problem. Now I have better internet, supposedly. And now last stream and this stream we're having issues. So that's a right ball leg. Basically what I said, if you didn't hear any of that, I think there should have been some youngsters involved. At least they would have tried. Obviously, these players that will play now, Saúl, I mean, Rüdiger, if you like, no problem with him playing and coming off. But obviously, he's not going to try hard. Do you know what I mean? And neither is like, I don't know, bloody Kennedy, who knows he has no future here. Like Reece James, who's like, oh, I don't want to get injured too much. Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously not. Kante, who we all said needs to be rested and just give him some rest, plays again. Of course, that's not going to do much and no one's going to really care. Play some youngsters. They will try to show themselves. Everyone will be more excited. But Clutch, thoughts on the game yesterday?
Like Pi said, bang average at best. I mean, I had both Liverpool and City on the other screen, and I was paying more attention to them than I was to Chelsea because it's infectious the way we play. When we play like we don't care, then the fans don't care. And that's just kind of how that went. You could tell like those players didn't care. Kennedy had a good assist at the beginning. After that, who knows what he did. Mason Mount, once again, he had a couple good passes, but didn't care. Kai Havertz, good goal, missed like 5 other chances. He didn't care. Like it was just, it's the infectious mindset that you could tell. You probably could have put some youngsters out there, but like I said yesterday, Vale was ill, so he's not going to go play. You're never going to give Webster a chance. He can't be that
ill, by the way, considering he was there to pick up his Academy Player of the Year award.
Oh, yeah, that is true. After that, it's Lewis Hall. And I know you disagree, but maybe Tuchel only sees him as the left center back in our system. And
okay, but then bring him on and not Malang Sarr. Do you know what I mean? Again, I'm not even saying that all of them had to start. Of course not. Like, I don't care that much. I also understand the whole idea. Show some respect to some of the players that were here all season but barely got any minutes. I also understand that idea. But that doesn't mean you can't put any on the bench.
No, you are correct on that point. And it's also like when you see Kepa not playing, it's like, okay, well, what's wrong with that? I don't understand that. Like, you can rest Mendy, that's okay.
That's super weird.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a couple decisions that I didn't get. And for as strong as the lineup we put out, we didn't do anything. And Watford, at one point, started to take it to us. So, it was just a dead boring game. Stark contrast to City, who I know they had to play for it, but even at the time when they went 2 down, decided that, you know what, in like a 4-minute span, they were going to go and win the game and win the championship. So, I mean, it's just like the difference in mentalities of that point. City never gave up, not until the end. So, and then we didn't. We gave up. And that's why we are sitting where we're at.
I guess so. Now, let's not waste too much time and let's get onto the player ratings. Now, I would usually try to at least put the ratings in the bottom, like the little thing that runs across the bottom of the screen. But I won't have enough characters available to do the whole squad for player ratings. And to obviously I can't do how we usually do it with just an 11, because we had clearly more. We need to do more than 11 players. So that's why I've got it up. First of all, that also helps me not miss anything, but it also gives us some stats, how many games they played and everything. So that's quite good. So we're just going to go through things in order, and we will start with the goalkeepers. Now, I will throw one thing out there. We will have a conversation once I've done at least the main ones, whether Mount was robbed or who we would have voted for player of the year or whatever. But see, for example, Mendy and Kepa. Kepa played a lot less games, and maybe on average over those games, he might potentially have been better than Mendy over his games. But as you can see on screen, Mendy played 49 games, Kepa played 15 games. So now I'm not sure how we're going to do that. Are we going to factor that in or not? I'm not 1,000,000% sure. But if we don't, and if somehow, say, Mendy ends up on a 7 and Kepa ends up on a 7.5, just because he played less but was actually good in those games, don't think we thought Kepa was actually better this season. That's just, he played less. But in those games, he was decent, if that makes sense. But Clutch, why don't I start with you? Big Edu Mendy. I will have a separate, which you can't see, but a separate little file where I write down all the player ratings. So at the end, I will show all of that. But yeah, at the time, I can't write it down anywhere. So yeah, I will write it down for myself. Unfortunately, you guys won't be able to see it. But Clutch, Mendy, over the season, 49, starts, because did he get subbed on ever? Probably not. So I think Kepa got subbed on twice. Super Cup final and Carabao Cup final. Super Cup final, if you want to call it that. But over the season, what do you make of Mendy? And how would you rate that? And again, because we have a lot of players to get through, maybe sometimes we won't go into quite the detail we would like, but otherwise we will never be done here.
I forgot to hit the button. But no, Mendy, I think at the beginning of the season, he was a lot stronger than the finish of the season. So I think I remember him a little bit less fondly than I should. I mean, at the end, he was struggling so hard to get past that line. Ever since AFCON, he was not the same goalkeeper, which is hard because I think the rating that I'm either going to sit between is like a 6.5 or a 7. Because, I mean, he was nowhere near outstanding at the end. Like, he dipped off quite a lot. So that doesn't mean I think he should be taken away. I think that there is, for the Mendy that we've seen last year to this year, there's a stark contrast, and he is nowhere near what we saw last year, because we used to call him a world-class keeper. Now, can we really call him that after this? No, we can't. So for me, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to go for a 7.
Fair dues. Before I go to Pies, Cedric, I appreciate you very much for that donation, saying cheers for the streams this season, lads. More trophies would have been nice, but at least Arsenal are in the mud again after their spending spree. I could not agree with you more. More trophies certainly would have been nice, especially considering we made it to 2 flipping finals, which we lost. And I'm still not okay with that. I don't care whether we took the second best team potentially in the world to penalties. Don't care. It's a final. I want to win the final. Don't care who we're playing against, no matter how much of an underdog we are with Chelsea Football Club. If we make the final, I want to win the final. But yeah, appreciate the donation. Now, Pies, let me take it to you. Clutch gave Mendy a 7, but wasn't 100% convinced about the 7. Whereabouts would you go for it?
Yeah, I'm around the same. I'd probably go 6.5 or a 7. I think just because I feel like the last few months it's been quite poor, to be honest with you. Like, I think people, because he had such a great season last season, people aren't saying as much yet. But I tell you now, if he does, have this sort of season next season, a lot of people will start seriously asking question marks. We've got to remember as well, we only brought this guy in to be, obviously he was going to be number 1, but it was never like, I don't think when we signed him, anyone really thought, like, it's not like we bought Oblak or someone for a ridiculous price. Like, I don't think they was initially planning for the long term with him, but after last season, it kind of was like, yeah, he's unreal. And I still do think Mendy's a very, very good goalie. Don't get me wrong, but this season he's not been great. I'm going to go for a 6.5. There was moments earlier on in the season. I remember the Brentford game away, literally unbelievable. Some of those saves he made, but there's been so many other games as well that it's just been poor. Like his position.
It's not even just been recently either, has it? Remember West Ham away when he basically cost us
Yeah,
the
I
win.
was going to say
Time's
that.
up.
Yeah. Yeah, just like I saw even that people have complaints about the goal yesterday. I don't know. I owe 6.5.
Okay. I mean, I said it the other day on a stream. I don't think you were here for it though. The one benefit that Mendy has is that when Mendy came in, all he had to be better than Kepa. While when we got Kepa, he was the heir to Petr Cech and Thibaut Courtois. So that's much higher standards than also Kepa was held to. Of course, the transfer fee played its part too. But still, all that Mendy had to do, especially because he was so much cheaper than Kepa, he just had to be better than Kepa. Even like that's why people are not as critical of him, in my opinion, because we don't compare it to Cech and Courtois anymore. We just compare it to Kepa. Now, I would probably have gone for the 7, like clutch, just about. But if I'm honest, I was in the exact same boat as both of you guys in terms of somewhere between 6.5 and 7. But I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt because I think he started to look worse also when the rest of the defense kept making more and more mistakes. And I don't think that was purely on him. Of course, he had some howlers in there, but I feel like once you can't trust your own defense anymore, that will happen. At the same time, maybe the defenders started to make mistakes because they couldn't trust their goalkeeper as much anymore. That's, I guess, also a way of looking at it. But I think I'm going to give him the 7, so I'm going to put that down on my list here, which, again, I'll show you guys after. But, Price, why don't I go with you first on this one? A bit more about Kepa, because obviously he only played 15 games. But in those 15 games, I can't remember him being bad in a single one of them, aside from the penalty shootout in the Carabao Cup final. But maybe he could have saved a couple more, and obviously missed the big one, which I know we've had this disagreement previously, but for me, it's a much bigger issue, the fact that he missed his pen rather than that he didn't save more pens.
Yeah, I don't actually remember a lot of the games that Kepa played. Can you click on the players? Do they show the games that they're featured in? Because I know overall he's
I'm
been
sure
quite.
it does, but I'm not sure if it will directly when I click on his name, which is why.
Yeah, it's hard. I know he's obviously. I think
he played the semi-final of the Club World Cup. He played obviously every round of the FA Cup, aside from one that he was ill in, and then the semi-final and final. And he played every round of the Carabao Cup, aside from the final. And of course, he came on for penalties in the Super Cup final against Villarreal.
Did he play against Palace in the semi?
No,
he didn't.
He had a lot of matches this year, actually.
Yeah, he's had quite a few. Kepa's going to be an interesting debate going into next season because, me personally, I don't really think you can get a better backup as such.
Me neither. He just makes too much money to.
Just if the club get an offer, it's like you probably cash in. But even then, who the hell do you sign then? But in terms of the season, I mean, as you said there, the positive is we haven't games don't instantly spring to our mind where we think he's been awful, flappy hands and all that sort of stuff, apart from the missed penalties. So, I mean, on the basis of what he's played, I would probably go for a 7. Probably. Obviously, I mean, yeah, it doesn't mean that.
If I'm honest, if just for what he played, I think you can even go happily higher than 8.
Yeah.
I can't really remember him doing much wrong whenever he played.
I just think though, in terms of the big games that he played, obviously the one game he came on was the final and he messed it up. So it's kind of hard.
And the Super Cup in which he came on and won it for us.
Yeah, but I don't know. Those weren't great teams we played against, to be honest. It was kind of. I was expecting much more competition in that, to be honest with you.
No, not the Club World Cup. The Super Cup final against Villarreal. Remember?
Oh, of course. I thought you were saying the Club World Cup.
No.
Yeah, no, the Super Cup. Yeah, you're right. Villarreal was a tough game. Yeah, I give him credit for that. 7.5 then, I think. Yeah.
7.5.
You
can go with your 7, bro, if you want.
7, yeah, 7. I don't know. I don't want to go too high because he's not played in a lot. But obviously,
and it feels weird to give him higher than Mendy as well, doesn't it? When he's played so much less games. Do you know what I mean? I agree with you. Aaron, appreciate you very much. Large of the panel, have a good one, boys. Appreciate you. I know I still need to reply to you. I will. Sorry, I'm bad at this sometimes. Clutch though, Kepa. Would you go for the same as Mendy? Would you even go higher? Because obviously, he played less, of course, but he was good in those games.
I think the overall picture, Kepa was better for the games that each have played.
Yeah.
There was a majority of games where Kepa played that he was really good. There's been a majority of games where Mendy has been bad. it does feel weird wanting to go a little bit higher for him than Mendy. So I will probably go. I'm going to go 7.5 because I think Kepa got done dirty a little bit this year because for being a second choice goalkeeper, losing his spot, and then having this season to come back and being, I wouldn't say great, but better than he's been. I think that deserves some praise because Kepa was in a very situation that anybody could have crumbled in. And he, when called upon, showed up. So I'm going to give him the 7.5 for that alone.
Hey, Bob has convinced me. 2 clean sheets against Spurs. It's a 7.5 for me as well, which I know is mental that we're giving him higher than Mendy, but hey, say us after, not now. Let's leave it for now.
Overall, he's been better than Mendy, though. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's not wrong. It's unfortunately not wrong. I don't really know what else to say. It's just really difficult to compare the first choice goalie and the second choice goalie when one's played 49 and the other played 50.
It's hard because like if Kepa played
13
49,
essentially, because 2 were only for penalties.
If Kepa played 49 and Mendy played 15, what would we be saying then? That's the hard thing about it.
And we'll never know for sure, unfortunately, is the problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Now, we're not going to give a rating for Marcus Bettinelli. Obviously, Lucas Bergstrom and Teddy Sharman Low. We're going to leave out as well. So we're going to get to Reece James. Not that I personally would have now picked him, if I'm honest, because I would have done centre backs and then wing backs. But hey, here we are. Reece James. Now, his only problem. Now, see, I don't like that. If I'm not at the top, I can't see which number is which stat. But hey, let's leave it like this for now. Started 39 games, or played 39 games, sorry. He was subbed on in 8 of those. So started 31 games. But obviously, he arguably, in my opinion, was actually our best player when fit. But obviously, he wasn't quite fit enough regularly enough to win Player of the Year. But when we only judge the games he did play, I reckon he's warrants the highest rating out of anyone this season, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. And I think I'm going to give him an 8.5. 8.5. Pice, what do you think?
9, I think, for me. I think he's been that good, honestly. He is an unbelievable talent. And I think he's getting better every season. I mean, just going forward as well, like I know he's playing wing back, but still, like to hit the same goals and assists as Trent, who, you know, factor in the amount of game time and the attackers also that Trent has, and the clinical.
And also the amount of games that Reece James missed. I don't think Trent was injured this season, was he? Not for much.
I don't think so. No, that's what I was saying. Like factor in the minutes, like it's crazy. And defensively, I think he's been very, very good. Especially in the second leg away at the Bernabeu. He got that yellow on Vinicius in the first 5 minutes. I thought it could be over, but I tell you, Reece was amazing after that. And if we may not have had that nearly memorable night if he played bad in that game. So yeah, I think he's had a very, very good season. I'm going to go over 9. I do agree with you. I think if he played all season, had no injuries, I think he'd be right up there for player of the season.
100%. And I mean, you can see there 6 goals, 10 assists. That's obviously all competitions, but still incredible numbers. Obviously got himself sent off once away at Anfield. Still can debate whether that is a rightful red card. It's a rightful penalty, but whether it's a rightful red card is still... But I went 8.5. I went 9. Whereabouts are you going to go?
I think I know what you said. You were row-body for like 10 seconds there.
Oh.
But I think you were asking where I would go for Reece James. So I'd probably agree. If he was here for most of the season, we'd be in a much better position, in the league. He's one of our more important players that we have, along with Chilwell, especially within the system that Tuchel wants to play with these wingbacks, because the wingbacks are the creative force of the team. I think defensively he was really solid. Offensively, one of the better players we have, to the point where we call him probably one of our better finishers that we have on the team. Yeah, I'd give him a 9. I know a couple of these might be seeming a little high for the season that we have, but Reece James is probably I shouldn't even say probably. Reece James is our best player, full stop, talent-wise. And I'm sorry, Mason Mount is not. Kai Havertz is not. It's Reece James.
There you go. Fair play. Now, let's move on then. The next one on this very list is Ben Chilwell. Now, he only got to actually play 13 games because, mind you, at the start of the season, because, well, Gareth Southgate screwed him over, he was not in the right frame of mind mentally, and therefore Alonso played a lot at the start of the season before Chile finally got his spot. Then we was absolutely flying, winning 4-0 against Juve, and he gets injured. And obviously we haven't seen him since until yesterday, when he came on for the last couple of minutes, which Thomas Tuchel in hindsight said, or after the game even said, was a bit risky. But hey, he received the ball once and played one pass. So I'm sure he was okay. But still, 3 goals, 1 assist, which I'm surprised about that it wasn't more assist, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. But again, difficult to judge because he only played literally 13 games. But what you're going to do, you know what, Clutch, I'll let you go first on this one. I'm struggling a bit more to make my own mind up for that one. So what do you reckon?
Considering he hasn't played a lot, but the games he did play, he was absolutely integral to a lot of what we were doing. The way he arrives in the box defensively, I think he gave up 1 penalty this year, I think, which that happens. Whatever.
I remember the penalty, just not against who it was, but I remember him doing it.
Yeah, but that happens. Overall, he's much better defensively than Alonso, a much better option. I'd probably give him, I'm in between a 6.5 and a 7. How about, we'll go 7. I like Chilwell a lot. I'm going to give him a 7.
7. Interesting. Pies, what about you?
I was going to go 7.5. I think we give Kepa a 7, right? I think for the games Chilwell played, taken in context, yeah, at least a 7.5. He was amazing. Getting so many goals. It felt like it anyway. I don't know how many exactly he got. How many did he get? 3 or 4 goals? Yeah, honestly, the goal against Brentford away was fantastic. Yeah, he was.
That
he
volley
really
against, what was it, Leeds at home? Remember that volley that we needed goal and technology for because the keeper saved it, but it was over the line.
Yeah, that was a good volley. But the Brentford one was even better because it didn't need to come off the line. It was just an absolute smasher. But no, yeah, 7.5 for me. I'm really looking forward to when he comes back into the team fully. I think when he got injured, that really, I know it sounds stupid. A lot of Royal fans are like, how could a left wing back derail your season? It's because when he got injured, the momentum we had in that team was ridiculous. And if Chilwell stayed on, wasn't injured, who knows how many more games we would have won in a row? Who knows? You know what I mean? Like I felt like we had such good momentum at that time in the period he got injured. It's like that just screwed us because Alonso, everyone knows, like I know he's a wing back, but he's just nowhere near the same player. And we do rely a lot on our wing backs in this system to provide width, to provide overlaps, to provide crosses, passes. So he's integral. And the last thing I wanted to say, when he came on yesterday, it was one of the loudest cheers I've heard. Honestly, it was ridiculous. It was almost deafening. It was crazy.
There you go. Hey, if I'm honest, boys, I would have gone even higher than both of you because I think the games that he did play, he was absolutely phenomenal in. There was literally basically nothing to fault him for. I was even debating whether I should go higher than an 8, but I mean, you guys went 7 and 7.5, so I'm going to go 8, and that overall leaves him at a 7.5. But I only think that's a bit harsh, if I'm honest. But regardless, let's move on. Again, it's just annoying that when I scroll down, I can't see which number is which, and I will probably not remember. But I'll try. So Antonio Rüdiger, that's who we'll move to next. Of course, leaving to Real Madrid. Well, that's not been made official that it's to Real Madrid. It's been made official that he's leaving. Obviously, did this whole Players Tribune video and article, did this whole little social media video, and of course the interview with Chelsea TV after the game. But as you can see, he played 54 games this season. And he was never subbed on because that's the sub on. And he was only subbed off once, and that was yesterday. Mental, by the way. Reece James's points per game ratio is really poor. Obviously not just him, but it's even worse than Alonso's, which is not great considering we're giving him probably the highest rating out of anybody. But Antonio Rüdiger, now when you see that, 5 goals, that's just 1 less than Reece James, and 4 assists. 12 yellow cards. Never got himself sent off either. He had a couple of dodgy games. Real Madrid at home, Brentford at home. But other than those two, maybe like a couple of crazy moments, he was good to very good to incredible in basically all of those 54 games, aside from 2 or 3. So we might be disappointed because he's leaving, but I think in terms of rating, we've got to go quite high. I will go 8.5. 8.5. Clutch, what about you?
8.5? It's got to be higher. He's one of our integral players. What am I going to do? I mean, towards the end, after he he was leaving, he's not been the same Rüdiger. But before that, he's been really good. There's been times when we thought if he was out, we were screwed. I'm going to go 9. I'm going to go 9.
Yeah. Maybe I should go 9 too. I don't know yet. Pice, what about you? 8.5 from myself and a 9 from Clutch. What are you going to go for?
I was thinking 9 as well. I think like we might have quite a few 9s.
But should we? Because that's the problem. I was going to only give Reece James a 9, and everyone else lower.
I think...
But no, I still think overall there's been quite a few very good performers. I just don't think the team is...
I think there will be good, one more 9 on my list.
I'm not sure about 9s,
But there'll be one more 9 or above on my list. That's it.
There definitely wouldn't be any more than that. But yeah, okay. Hey, you boys win it. Until Charlie's here, it's a 3-way discussion.
I'll go 8.5 for Rüdiger.
Okay. Then the 8.5 wins.
I think towards the end, he kind of... I don't think he was the same towards the end.
Fair play. I mean, some people are unhappy. Easy 9, 9.5. I think your standards are way too low. Obviously, he as an individual was good, but there is more that comes to it than just playing well, right? And the fact that his whole leaving idea was clearly an issue for the whole squad. That's partly why I wouldn't go higher as well, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. Mate, we were 19 points off the championship. We can't be giving out too many insanely high ratings because otherwise, why on earth are we 19 points off the champions? Well, let's move on then. Who's next in line? Andreas Christensen still played 34 games, which is 20 less than Antonio Rüdiger. But still, with everything that he had going on, scored 2 goals as well. His first 2 goals for Chelsea ever, by the way, and got himself an assist. Obviously, we still don't really know what is going on with him, what was going on with him. He wasn't in the squad yesterday, but he was there on the pitch after to say bye-bye to everybody. So I have no idea what exactly is going on. But the games he played, I think I'm going to give him a 7. Pice, what about you? Do you think 7 is fair?
What is this for?
Christensen.
Oh, yeah, I'd probably say so, to be fair. He did get... Was it? Hang on. Did he get man of the match at Anfield this year? I'm pretty sure he did. Or was that...
Oh, mate, I've got no clue. He might have done.
So I know he got back-to-back man of the matches, I think, at Anfield, which I think the first one was the season before when we played in lockdown. And then this season, I'm pretty sure he got man of the match when we drew. But, I mean, yeah, he was good. He is still good. I just think overall, I mean, he's played, is that 34 games he's played?
34 games, yeah.
He's played more than I thought.
Yeah, no, I'm happy. Those were as subs. Let me just check the exact number.
10.
Actually, only 3 times he came on as a sub, and 10 times he was subbed off.
Okay. Yeah, I think a 7 is fair. I think.
I would say. So, I mean, someone in the chat said he's a disgrace. It's a 4. Hey, that's not how mental health works. If someone has some issues going on, support these players. Obviously, he's now not our player anymore. Well, officially he is until June 1st, but basically not a player anymore. But still, no need to be harsh, in my opinion. When he played well, with a couple of exceptions. Obviously, against Arsenal, he really stunk one up, and there was a couple of others. But he also had some absolutely incredible games. And I, in some games, even believe he's better for us to have in the team than Thiago Silva, just because with him, we can play an edge of a higher line and we pass it out from the back way quicker. His passing on average isn't as good as Thiago's, but he risks it more, and that makes us build faster and be more, in my opinion, better in attack, if I'm honest. So I'll give him that. That's why I went 7. But Clutch, 2-7 so far. So unless you're going to go drastically far away from that, probably not going to change it. But what do you think?
No, I mean, you guys snapped me out of it. I was going to give him a 5, but I think I was just being stupid. So I think a 7 is probably fair. That is where it's at. Looking back and remembering some of the games he had, you are correct. And I think he's probably our best in the air center back. I don't think he lost too many aerial duels this year. So when it comes to
that's a big shout.
I do think he did. I think he won more than Rüdiger.
But certainly not offensive headers, but defensive headers, you might have a point.
Yeah, I think he when the ball was coming into the box against him, I think he was one of our better aerial duel winners. So I'd give him a 7. He deserves that.
Fair. Excuse me. Who's the next player that we need to get to? Let me just see. Bloody hell. What is my lung doing? Trevoh Chalobah. Now, probably the surprise of the season, shall we say? Would you boys go along with that?
Yeah, I think so. Because I think in pre-season, I thought he was quite bad in pre-season, honestly. I didn't think he would get in the squad. I do. I remember. For some reason, pre-season is one of the things I remember the most. It's weird. It shouldn't be like that. But last pre-season, I was really impressed with Dujon Sterling, and I thought if anyone was going to come into the squad, it might be him. But Chalobah surprised me, definitely.
There you go. I mean, I'll ask you straight away, mate. You played 30 games, 4 goals, just 1 less than Antonio Rüdiger. Got an assist as well. Was subbed on 6 of those 30 times, to be fair. But what would you rate him, Pice? Great season as your first season in the Premier League.
Yeah, I might need some help on this. I'm toyed between a 6.5 and a 7. I kind of inclined towards to go to a 7 because I don't think he was worse than Christensen.
I agree with you. I agree.
I think he probably had a few more stinky games, but then factor in age in your first season, I don't think you can be too harsh. I mean, let's not forget at the start of the season. At the same time,
he's as old as Reece James.
Yeah, like it's crazy. At the start of the season, he was fantastic. Like literally, he had that right centre back spot on lock. I mean, the Juventus game at home as well was brilliant from him, as was everyone that night. To be fair, but I think he's played in quite a few Champions League games. I think this year as well. It seems like, from what I can remember, I think he's been good. You know, I'm going to go with 7. I think he's definitely more room for improvement. And obviously, we've never seen him in a back 4 as far as I can remember. But I'm going to go with 7.
Oh, we've definitely seen him in a back 4. Didn't he play?
He played right back and then DM.
Christensen played right back against Palace when we played the back 4. But Chalobah was still centre back, I think, because I don't think Thiago Silva was available that day. I
can't remember Chalobah playing centre back in the 4. I might be wrong. I don't know.
You know that Palace away game? Was it Rüdiger and Thiago centre back then?
I'll double check.
Because I thought Thiago was injured then, or not available for some reason.
Well,
maybe I'm wrong.
1-0, wasn't it?
Yeah. You know, when good old Lukaku, who we'll get to later, had his good old 7 touches.
It was a back 4 of Malang Sarr, Rudiger, Silva, and Christensen at right back.
Okay, so it was Silva. I thought Silva wasn't available. Fair play. But yeah, I think he maybe once played half of a game, or when he came on at right back, and he played a couple of times at DM. But that's the extent of it. Fair enough, though. Pice with your 7. Charlie, thank you for joining us. Great to see you, mate. I hope you're well. Now, we've already gone through a couple of ratings. I can't actually show them on screen. I'll show them on screen later. We've done Mendy, Kepa, Reece James, Ben Chilwell, Rüdiger, Christensen, and currently we are on Trevoh Chalobah. So why don't I throw you straight under that bus and ask you what season rating would you give Trevoh Chalobah? And we have deemed him the surprise of the season because at the start of the season, none of us expected him to, number one, play 30 games, let alone be as good as he was.
Yeah, no, I'd agree, mate. I think he's been a real find this season for us. He's certainly saved us a lot of money. And ironically, if we'd actually got our act together and signed Jules Koundé last summer, like we should have done, Chalobah might have gone out on loan this season. And we might not have even seen him be this good for us.
Played for Chelsea, yeah?
Well, exactly. So I think, the fact that, the first time we really seen him was in that Super Cup game against Villarreal, where he done very well. Obviously scored in his Premier League debut at Stamford Bridge against Crystal Palace. I think he's had a really good season. And
he scored his Champions League debut at Stamford Bridge as well,
Yeah, I think he scored in the Juventus game, didn't he? I think. At Stamford Bridge, was it? I think he might have done.
Who he scored, but he scored in his first Champions League game. I know
he definitely did.
Juventus.
Was Juventus. Yeah. I think he's been great this season. I think, despite the fact he's played 30 games, I think he can count himself a little bit unlucky that he's not played more. I think he probably should have played more, particularly in the last few weeks of the season. But I think he's done really well this season. I think, he's a great find for us. And I'd have to say I'm surprised at how well he's done. And I think, it makes up maybe fractionally for the fact that Tomori has left us. Not completely, but, the fact that there's another one that's come through Cobham and is good to go again. But yeah, Chalobah for me, mate, I'm looking at a solid 7 out of 10 for him. I think he's done really well. For a young player, look, there's been a few mistakes. There was a run of games where he gave away a couple of penalties in back-to-back games. But that's going to happen with a young player. You're going to make mistakes. All defenders make mistakes. So I think, I think a great season for him. A 7 out of 10 and lots to be positive about going forwards.
There you go. I hope you can hear me and I'm not a robot because my thing says here I've currently poor internet connection for whatever reason. But Clutch, take over.
Yeah, Trevoh Chalobah, especially that goal, his first Premier League game, the goal he scored was an absolute banger of a goal too. I mean, that reminded me of Tomori's goal. Like, he reminds me a lot of Tomori, the way he developed this season. Hopefully he doesn't end up on the same path as Tomori, but Lampard's not here, so we should be fine with that. I'd agree with the 7. He was pretty good this season. Definitely the surprise of the season. Didn't think he'd come in and do what he did, but here he is, and now we get to see him next year.
There you go. And you went along with the 7, did you?
Yes, I did.
There you go. And I will make it a full house and we'll all give him a 7. I think it's more than justified. Now, I'm not sure about this squad order here. Why now, before we get to Aspi and Malang Sarr and Thiago Silva, they mention Marcos Alonso, but sure, otherwise I lose it. So we need to we're just gonna have to go in this order. Now, the most depressing stat about Marcos Alonso is that he played 46 games. That just makes me want to shoot myself. Really. But yeah, what do you say? 5 goals, 6 assists, 7 times subbed on, 13 times subbed off. What do you say, man? I don't know.
How many of those were subbed at halftime, too?
Don't know. Absolutely don't know. I'm going to give him a 5. I'll go with you first. What do you think?
Me?
Yeah.
It's tough because I want to go low because anytime we seem to talk about Alonso, it's always poor. But maybe I'm overshadowed because I do think he had a couple of good games this season, especially at the beginning of the season. He was flying, and there was a reason why he was he kept staying in the team. It's because he was contributing. I'm gonna go 4.5.
Okay. Price, what about you? I mean, none of us are big fans of Alonso. Maybe my 5 was even a bit nice, if I'm honest, but I feel like whenever we dish out the zeros, maybe we're a little bit overdoing it, and maybe we should be giving him like 2s and 3s instead. And then if you even it out with his few games where he got 7s and 8s, that I thought in my head might end up at a 5, but maybe I'm being too nice and Clutches 4.5, maybe even a 4 is closer to it. What do you think?
I was going to go 5.5.
A 5.5, okay.
Yeah, I was thinking of a 6, but usually 6 is average. I don't think he's had an average season. I think it's been below average. I don't think he's been good, to be honest. I mean, we always have a go at him. So yeah. I'm going to go 5.5 though, because he still did get a few goals and assists. That's what saved him, in all honesty. If he didn't chip in with goals, I mean, he would literally be the worst wing back I've ever seen in my life. But apart from the goals, I mean, yeah, I don't enjoy him as a footballer. So I go 5.5. I think it's a detriment to our team as well, honestly.
100%. To be honest, I'm surprised you went that high. But Charlie, 1 4.5, 1 5, 1 5.5. So whereabouts are you going to go for Marcos Alonso?
I think the 5 is fair. I think, if you look at the season as a whole overall, you have to admit those first few games of the season where he was in the side ahead of Chile, he actually played really well in those games, and he kept Chilwell out the side. And then he's obviously had to play a lot more than we were expecting. And we know his defensive deficiencies. He's not a good defender. But for someone that is not a first-choice left-back, I think he's actually done okay this season. He's had some good performances, moments, in terms of like great performance in the Carabao Cup final, pocketed Salah pretty much in that game, popping up with key goals, you know, in matches. He's a good finisher as well. So yeah, I guess if you look at it overall, there's been some good moments and there's been some crap from him, which pretty much sums Alonso up. And as Pi said, you know, the goals and the assists have kind of masked over a little bit his poor defending. But I think, in fairness to him, if you take into account his start to the season and the big moments he's popped up with, then I think a 5 is probably fair overall.
There you go. For some reason, my internet always seems to be a bit worse whenever it's my turn to talk again. So I hope, again, I don't sound like a robot. But let's move on to the next player then. I'll make a quick transition. Back to you, Charlie, actually. Azpi, 47 games he played, 3 goals, 3 assists. What is that last stat? Is that yellow cards? There it is. 3 goals, 3 assists. Not half bad, really. But obviously on the decline, 32 years old, has apparently decided it's the end of his time at Chelsea and is leaving, even though we're screwed and Rüdiger is leaving for free and Christensen is leaving for free, which is why I really don't rate it from him that he's basically looking to leave. I don't think as a captain, this is not the situation to leave your club hanging, in my opinion. As much as maybe we all think he's not good enough to be here anymore anyway, which I maybe even agree with. But how many players are we realistically going to sign in the very same position in the same window? So, and as long as he just doesn't start 47 flipping games anymore next season, I think as a backup that plays between 20 and 30 games, no worries. But for this season, I think I'm going to give him a 6. Charlie, what about you?
Mate, that's exactly what I was going to do. Just on the point of him, like, perhaps not the ideal time to leave. Maybe not, but I think, you know, the fact he's given 10 years service and to be Chelsea's most successful player ever, you know, winning everything you possibly can, I think he's probably earned the right to decide when he wants to leave, whilst it might leave us in the lurch.
Clarify, he's not actually the most successful player. He's just the only player that's won every trophy. But obviously,
so by trophies, he's most successful then, because he's won all of them.
Yeah. But as in, obviously, he's only won. Less of each, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think he's been okay. He's played a lot more than we probably wanted him to play, and Tuchel was probably expecting to have to use him, given the injuries we've had. I think in the back three, as a right centre back, he's done okay at times. Wing back, it's not really worked out. He doesn't really have the legs for it anymore. You know, there's a few mistakes that crept into his game this season. But I think as an overall package and as a captain, I think the average 6 is fair for him. Like, it's not been absolutely horrific, but it's been nothing special either.
No, I would agree. Pice, what about you? 6 for Azpi? It's about fair, or would you go for something? Considering you went 5.5 for Alonso, if I'm honest, I'm expecting you to go higher than a 6. But what do you think?
No, I probably would go over 6. I think I was going to go over 5 for Alonso, but he did get quite a few goals and assists, which I saw. So I think 6 overall for Azpi is probably fair. I mean, for me, like personally, I think he's finished. Honestly, from the stuff I've watched, I think he's finished. He was awful yesterday as well. By the way, he was really, really bad. But I don't know, man. I think, I think 6 is okay. Like, it's been nothing special. We got a nice goal away at Lille, which I remember. But.
And he's one of the contenders for goal of the season, that back heel finish that he had against, who was it?
Plymouth.
Plymouth our goal, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't scored that many better goals than that. Like, it's probably top 5.
Yeah, I know, it just says it all. But I'd say 6. It's not really much else to say about him. Like, he does a job, but for me, it's coming to the point now where he's not really doing the job anymore. Like, it's kind of, I don't know, he's losing his way a bit, in my opinion.
Yeah, okay. I mean, AJN, bit harsh. Haven't seen him play well all season. Well, maybe you just missed too many games then. But clutch, 3 6s so far, so probably not going to sway it much. But would you go along with the 6, or do you think we're being nice or harsh, or what do you think?
I think you're being nice. I mean, he played wingback most of the season, and what is his return? 3 goals, 3 assists? In a system where we need that position to do that? I'm not saying he's like been absolutely awful.
That's down to the system, not him.
And I know, and that's down to where he gets selected. Unfortunately, that's where he's had to play because Reece James was out for most of the season. I tend to agree with Pius. I do think he's finished. I think he has to stay, though, to be honest, because, I mean, what else are we going to do? We're kind of screwed without him. We can put him at center back next year, as long as he doesn't play right back. I don't care. Or right wing back. But I'd probably go 5.5 because even his leadership as captain hasn't been up to par what we need it to be. I think there's a lot of things that kind of go with Aspie that we need to kind of consider. I do think we need to keep him out of necessity, but not out of want, if that makes sense. Because I do think he deserves to have the send-off that he deserves for being here, as long as he has him winning as much as he has. But if we need to go forward, he cannot be what we have.
Fair. Let's move it along. I know here it says Malang Sarr first, but I'm just going to make the executive decision that I'm going to do Thiago Silva first because I won't forget Malang Sarr in between them. Thiago Silva, a stupendous amount of games for a 37-year-old. 48 games. 48 games. Absolutely ludicrous. And he even came on in 7 games. I mean, I'm not... well, actually, that's probably part of the 48. But still. So, not only did he start loads, he even had to come on in the others. Mental. Absolutely mental. Yeah, now, I know people don't like me saying this, and I said it for when we were talking about Christensen earlier. I do sometimes think he slows us down too much in the way he passes it out. Every now and again, he plays incredible over-the-top ball and also incredible switch balls, and they do happen, and he's better at those than Christensen is at any passes. But on average, too slow at passing, way too slow in my opinion. I'm not even going to let his age be an excuse for that, by the way. You're 37. That doesn't mean you can't pass the ball. Do you know what I mean? We gave Rüdiger ended up at an 8.5. I'm going to give Silva and I'm going to give him an 8.5 as well. I was going to say maybe 8, but no. I think him and Rüdiger probably about the same because Thiago Silva didn't ruin the vibes by deciding to leave. So that's why I guess the same. Even though I think Rüdiger was a teeny tiny bit actually better. Pies might disagree. Some of you might disagree. But I think that. Who shall I go with first? Charlie, I know you went first on Aspie. Why don't you go first again? Obviously, you didn't notice. We gave Antonio Rüdiger an 8.5. Myself and Pice did. Clutch wanted to give him a 9, but just so you have a bit of a reference point. And Christensen and Chalobah both got a 7.
Well, I honestly think Thiago Silva has been out phenomenal. Ever since we signed him, he's been superb. I think, count on one hand since he's joined us the amount of poor games he's had or the mistakes that he's made. And again, to play the most games, I think he's played the most games out of our back 4 or back 5, whatever you want to call it.
No, Rüdiger has.
Rüdiger played a few more than him. But to play that many games at his age is quite something. And he barely puts a foot wrong at all. I think he's been a standout player, perhaps slightly unlucky maybe not to be Chelsea's player of the season. But yeah, I think the 9 is fair. I can understand why he got an 8.5, but I think the 9 is fair. I mean, Rüdiger's had a great season, but I think Thiago Silva has perhaps been a fraction better than him. And I think the two have complemented each other really well. So yeah, for me, a 9 for Silva. Just everything he does is just class. I don't know what else to say about him, but yeah, for sure, a 9 out of 10. I think he's had a fantastic season.
Fair. Just out of curiosity, because we already did Reece James as well. And obviously he wasn't quite up for player of the year because he was injured too much. But the games he did play, we all agreed to give him a 9. I think Pice even might have wanted to give him a 9.5. No, I wanted to give him an 8.5, didn't I? And you guys said 9. That's why he got a 9. But yeah, would you go along with a 9 for Reece James as well? Obviously, played less, but when he played, in my opinion, our best player.
Yeah, when he played, he's been superb, Reece James. But I just think... it might be a bit harsh, but for the fact that he missed a large chunk of the season through injury, I guess he doesn't quite get the 9 for me. I'll probably stick with an 8.5. But I mean, yeah, Reece James when he's played has been absolutely superb. He really has. But yeah, I'd probably say that if you're judging it over a whole season, Silva's probably had a better season in terms of the fact that he's contributed more games as such. So I'd go Silva 9 and I'd stick with an 8.5 for James. But there's not much in it really. I mean, either way, I couldn't really complain about it.
I hear that as well. I don't know. I feel like otherwise the ratings for the players that didn't play so much will get silly low. That's why I try to basically only focus on what did you do when you played. But I hear you. Clutch, Thiago Silva. I gave 8.5. Charlie gave a 9. What are you going to give him?
9.5. He's my player of the season. Third most minutes in the entire squad at 37.
He
And he's
doesn't.
still
Rüdiger has the most minutes.
No, I said third most. Only Mendy and Rudiger have more. Even Mason Mount doesn't have as many minutes as he does as a 37-year-old. And I can count, like Charlie said, on one hand, the amount of mistakes that he's caused. He's been more help to us than anybody else on this team, besides maybe Rudiger. Rudiger's the only one who I would even consider taking away the player of the season for. So it is, for me, it is clear Thiago Silva 9.5.
Fair. On this very note, before I go to Pies for this, a quote by Thiago Silva post-season: "I was happy to accept a second season and now a third, and who knows, maybe even a fourth after that. I'm happy here. My family is happy. I feel good in London. I feel at home. I feel at home inside the stadium. I felt the love from the fans on social media." So it's what you love to hear. Fair play. So an 8.5, a 9, and a 9.5. So Pies, what are you going to go for?
I'm probably going to go over 9. I think he was my player this season, but I think it's very close between him, Rüdiger, Reece James as well. But Reece James, I think, I don't know. I might agree with you with an 8.5 for Reece James now, thinking about it, because of the injuries. But yeah, Silva gets a 9. I think, like you guys said, I don't really need to add much more. I think he's been one of the most outstanding performers. The consistency. I mean, the games earlier on in the season, like he was dragging us through some games. I mean, the Juventus home clearance, I'll never ever forget that. That was just ridiculous. Just some of the blocks and tackles, last-ditch tackles he's made. Like, I think he scored quite a few goals this season as well. The header away to Spurs was fantastic.
3 goals.
3 goals, yeah. West Ham, I think he got a goal. Not sure who the other one was against. But yeah,
I'm pretty sure he got the assist for Christensen's first goal too, with a cross.
So I mean, I think he's, in terms of, like, if you take in the whole package in terms of age and consistency of the games he's played, I would probably give him the highest rating, just because, like, people, like, there's not going to be a centre back like this ever again at Chelsea. People need to realise that, like, never. We ain't going to buy get another one of these. Like, Thiago Silva's a once in a generation.
You might sign Marquinhos when he's 35.
yeah, probably true, actually. No, but hopefully by then some actually proper structure will be in place. But yeah, I mean, no, I think this is definitely got to be the highest rating for me. I'd go with a 9.
Fair. So we sit on a 9 overall. I'm harsh, but when I say that, I don't care the fact that it's 37. It's impressive, but it doesn't change anything for me for the rating, because I'm like, you're here despite being 37, so I'm going to rate you as any other player. I'm not going to be extra nice just because you're extra old. Like, because otherwise, don't play then. If you need that extra niceness because you're old. No. But he doesn't need it. So, but in the end, we sit on the 9. Now we get to a guy who I like as a guy, but is up there with the worst defenders we've ever had at the football club. Good old Malang Sarr. He had a bit of a spell at some points during the season, around the January, February period, where he was quite decent. A few left-back performances against Spurs where he was decent, and then a couple of other ones at left centre-back as well. But early in the season and now later in the season, including the goal we conceded yesterday where he just completely lost his man and then looked around, why is no one else marking him? Mate, he was your guy. I don't know what you are doing. Yeah, I mean, we got him on the free, which is all well and good, but he didn't play well enough to get much of a financial benefit out of him this summer anyway. I'm going to give him... probably going to have to be even lower than Alonso. I'm going to give him a 4. He had some good games, but probably not enough to push it any higher than a 4. Pice, what do you think? Malang Sarr.
Yeah, I mean, 4, 3, something like that. I'll probably go 4 because, like you said, I mean, he did have a few good games earlier on in the season, but I don't know how this guy's in the squad circumstances. I mean, yeah, he's
signed him.
Yeah, I know we did, but it was always said when we first signed him, it was just going to be to flip him on and send him out on loan. The plan was for him to ever be in the squad. No. I don't know how on earth he ended up.
We gave him such a big contract that whoever we tried to send him on loan to, they were like, sorry, what is your wage demand?
Yeah, it's such a joke, honestly. Yeah, I'd go with a 4. I think he's crap, to be honest, but yeah.
Yeah. Nice guy, but a bit like Timo Werner. Nice guy doesn't mean you're a good footballer. Clutch. 4 for you. Would you go lower, considering you've been a bit low on a couple of them already?
Am I going to be nice? I've been nice.
Didn't even get a goal, the poor guy. We had 21 different goal scorers this season. Malang Sarr was not one of them.
When I think back to Malang Sarr, I think of like he had 3 good games, which were really good to be fair, and then everything else.
It was more than 3 because he played 21 in total, so it's got to be more than 3. He wasn't awful at 18. I don't. My memory tells me different anyway.
I was going to give him a 3, but I'm going to go for a 3.5.
Okay, I hear that. Charlie, then. 21 games. If anything, surprising that he got that many. In the squad 52 times, which shows how many injuries we had that even made the squad that often. But what rating would you give him?
Do you know what I like? You know, he's not Chelsea quality. I think it's important to make that clear. I think he's, as you boys said, you know, he's one of those signings that you bring on a free transfer and you look to sell him on for a profit. As simple as that. I think the fact that he's had to play so often this season goes to show how badly we've suffered with injuries, COVID, etc. But having said that, you know, there are more than a handful of games where actually he was quite useful, particularly, as you said, in and around that kind of Christmas mark and going January as well. I particularly remember the 2 League Cup games against Tottenham that you referenced. I thought he was very good in those. And he has been good. He's been good in a few other games as well. But, you know, it's important to remember that, you know, realistically, as I said, he's not Chelsea quality, but he was useful for a small period of the season. But yeah, I think a 4 is ultimately fair, you know, well below average and not good enough for Chelsea, and, you know, should look to be loaned out or sold on.
Fair dues. Now let's finally move on to the midfielders. For some reason, he mentions Mason Mount and Kai Havertz first. We're going to do the 4. We're going to include Ruben, and 5 include Ruben and Saúl as well. Let's do the proper central midfield first. So let's start up here with N'Golo Kante, just because he's mentioned first. Played 42 times, which, if anything, I'm surprised by, but 11 of those were as subs, meaning he started 31 games. He was in the squad 44 times and was used 42 times, so that says enough. But also, we can't ignore, he was also subbed off 16 times. So he started 31, subbed off 16 times. So only, if that is true how I read it, that means he only played the full game of 16 games. Of course, there might have been some subbed off in extra time, potentially, which I might not remember. But full games, which might include extra time, he only played 16 of, which is just nowhere near enough. Honestly, just nowhere near enough. 2 goals, 5 assists. Considering every time he plays, he's our most advanced midfielders. He's our most advanced midfielder basically every time. Not good enough either. I'm going to give his season... It's a tough one, that is. I'm going to give his season... People are going to hate me for this, but 6.5. Yeah, I think less than Christensen and Chalobah because our defense was better than our midfield this season. Again, kill me if you want, but that's what I'm going to go for. I might be able to be swayed to a 7, but I don't think we can go anywhere higher than that. Clutch, what about you? Do you think I'm being harsh on the 6.5?
That's way too generous.
You know that meme where it's the Ralph from Simpsons and it says, "I'm in danger"? If you're going to be in danger for saying 6.5, what am I if I say 5? He's been terrible. Yeah. He's our worst midfielder. And it's not even close.
Yeah. Maybe I was being nice, to be honest. Yeah.
You are being very nice.
I'll take a 6. I won't go lower than a 6 because, I mean, bloody Alonso was 5 and Azpi 6. I don't think it was worse than Azpi. But
yeah, I'm 5
maybe
for
6.5 still. Go on.
That's a 5 for me. Worst midfielder we've had this year. He's not the same N'Golo Kante. He's constantly injured.
Lower than even you gave Azpi. That's surprising to me. But fair. No problem. I'm going to cut you a little bit short again because we're going to be here forever and ever and ever otherwise. Charlie, you jumped in there. You said it's way too nice. Now, I lowered mine to a 6, sorry. But Clash went 5. What are you going to go for?
I think I agree with the 5, just by the standards that we expect from Kante. The decline has been real this season. Perhaps even last season, that the run to the Champions League success kind of masked over a drop in performance levels. And this season, mate, you could probably count on one hand the amount of times Kante's actually had a decent game. The consistency is not there. He's picking up injuries. He's barely featuring. He's featuring about 40% of the games. He's nowhere near as good as he normally is on the pitch, and he doesn't influence games in the same way anymore. And yeah, he just isn't. He isn't what he used to be. So I think it. Do I agree with Kante Costas against Madrid? There's 2 errors he made. One against Madrid that kind of gave a goal away when he tried a clipped ball, and there's another error he made in a game that was proved quite costly as well.
The same game against Madrid, he cost us both goals.
Oh, but there we go. That must have been that one as well. I just think errors creeping into his game. Yeah, I just think it's been, by the standards that he's set, it's been an entirely below average season. And bar Saúl, he's probably been our worst midfielder.
Maybe I was being too nice,
And maybe there'll be some hate in the comments, but that's just the way it is.
Let the comments hate, man. Let the comments hate. If they've got nothing better to do. Hey, but if you really hate us, by the way, please make sure to leave a dislike. Because any interaction is better for YouTube than none. Yeah. But still, smash the like button. Please do. But fair enough. Maybe I'm even tempted to lower mine back to 5.5. But again, I'm not sure if I agree that he was worse than Aspi overall. That's my problem. But maybe that just tells me that Aspi needs to be lower. Now, and that Aspi, I might not have gone 6 if Alonso didn't get a 5. But I also gave him a 5 myself. So what can I say? But Pice, 2 5s and 1 undecided between 5.5 and 6 for myself for Kante. What are you going to give it?
I'm going to go over 6. I think Kante really, by his standards, talking about the standards he set for me, overall in a season should at least be a minimum of an 8. So for me to put him down all the way down to a 6 is almost insulting in itself to the player that we know he can be. And the thing is with Kante is I don't want to call him finished or washed. He's definitely declining, but the thing is with Kante, it's just I'm sure he can become good again, like the Kante is very, very quickly. I still think he's got it in there. I just don't think this season he's been very good. I think even last season there's a debate. I don't think he was great other than the Champions League. So obviously he was amazing in the Champions League last season, but in the Premier League, yeah, I don't know. I don't know many good performances, which is quite sad, really. And I agree with the comment there. Yeah, I don't know what Tuchel was on about there. I mean, the thing is with Tuchel is he's kind of. I remember when Tuchel first joined, he's wanted Kante for years and years and years. So now he's got hold of him. He's like, oh, you know what I mean? I've got him now. I've got him. You know what I mean? So it's like
I need to even play him against Watford.
Yeah,
in a game that didn't matter.
So I think Tuchel just loves Kante. And I mean, I disagree. I personally think in terms of that sort of mold, in terms of the player that is you're basically saying who's our most important player. For me, it's Reece James. But yeah.
Well, if you look at his points per game rate, I've got to say that seems to be wrong. But
I still individually, I think it's Reece James. When we don't have Reece James in this team, I mean, you could even probably say him or Thiago Silva, to be honest. Or the state of our midfield, you could even say Kovacic, but yeah,
he's always injured all the same.
Yeah, I definitely disagree with that Tuchel quote.
Yeah,
for sure.
And just quickly, and I know I'm saying we shouldn't stay too long on things because otherwise I'll never get done. But this comment here, Pice, by Adash, and I feel that Tuchel's love for Kante will mask the need for a midfielder, which we need. He wants to keep Kante playing despite poor performances. Do you think that Tuchel liking Kante this much could be a problem in a way? If he doesn't start to be fit more. If he's fit enough, fair. But if he's not,
I think the real problem would be if Kante was fit all the time and he played him over like say we got a new midfielder and he played the new midfielder and Kante and left out Kovacic. That's when it'd be a problem for me.
Oh, you can guarantee that will happen, mate.
Exactly. And that is just a huge problem. I'd be irate if that happened. But the thing is, Kante's never going to be fully fit again, I don't think. He's been injury prone for years.
That's what I'm saying.
Now.
Give him 3-4 months out. Just let him chill.
Yeah,
and then we go again. Send him on holiday for the next.
The thing is with me, it's I don't care if Tuchel uses him almost as like a Swiss Army knife, in some of the bigger games. But even still, he's got to improve, man. The Champions League this year, Real Madrid, we was all thought, yeah, we'll get Champions League Kante. He was crap. So I don't know, man. It's a topic that fans don't like to talk about because everyone loves him, and I love Kante, but we're here to talk about the football we see, and the football we've seen from Kante over the last 2 years, domestically at least, has not been good. It's just facts. I don't care whatever people want to throw at me. It is facts.
Fair, mate. Let's move on to Jorginho then. Got 9 goals, of course. I think this season, every single one of them has been from the penalty spot. Actually, only played 5 games more than Kante, but obviously started a few more. But he still came on just in 4 less. Subbed off in 16 all the same. 4 assists as well, which is less than Kante, but understandable because he obviously plays a lot deeper. 1 year younger, it's them two were like, oh, who stays? Do both leave? Do both stay? Over this summer and next summer, essentially. It's a tough one. Well, I'll give him. Now, Kante ended up in the end on a 5.5 because we had 2 5s. I still couldn't decide, but it leaves us at a 5.5 anyway. Jorginho, bloody hell. You know what, Clark? I'll actually make you go first. What do you think Jorginho's rating should be?
Jorginho is one of the tougher ones in the squad, I think, because there is periods of time when we heard from Tuchel, oh, he's not playing as well as he needs to because he's had to overplay. We've overplayed him. He's playing through injuries. You can think about the mistake he made against, was it United? Was it for the Sancho goal where the lights comment comes into play?
But to be fair, there was only Tuchel that said that, not Jorginho himself.
Oh, I know.
Gotta be.
But I do think he was pretty good for most of the season. Would I go as high as an 8? Probably not. I think if I'm being nice, maybe a 7 or a 7.5 is where I'm leaning. I'll go for 7.
Okay. 7 to start with. Pice, what about you?
I'm going to go with a 6.5. I think he's been a bit better than Kante, but I don't think he's been a 7. I think he's not been as good as he has been in previous seasons, in my opinion. I think he's moving the ball way too slowly now. He's kind of gone back to, Mr. Sideways, unfortunately for me. And also, I seriously think his lack of mobility in midfield, like the amount of times he's been cooked on transitions this season has been absolutely disgusting. And I think that's really
it's also because our press is really bad, though. Let's not lie to ourselves.
True, but like we do really need that DM that can cover the space and block the passes because I like Jorginho, but he's just not that guy for me personally. 6.5, I think.
Fair dues. Charlie, then 1.615 from 1.7 so far. What are you going to go for?
I think the 6.5. Look, he has had nowhere near as good a season as he did the previous one. I think that ultimately that long campaign caught up with him, the run to the Euros, Champions League, etc. But I don't think we can forget his contribution, particularly in the first part of the season, where he was playing a lot of matches despite clearly not being fit / injured, and he really did help the team out there. So I think that's commendable in that regard. He also popped up with 2 superb assists. The one for Kai Havertz against Newcastle, and there was another one that I can't remember now. I think it might have been actually for
Pulisic one against Lille away, maybe?
Yeah, those 2 there as well.
Did you say the Havertz one against Newcastle? Is that what you just said?
Yeah, so that one. Yeah, those 2. But I do agree with Pice. He moves the ball too slowly. There's games where we need to be quicker in transition. We need to be quicker on the ball in midfield. And when he gets it, he's not the sort of player that moves the ball quickly. He'd rather hold on to it and pass backwards than take a potentially risky pass to get us forward. And I think that needs to change. We're just too slow in the middle of the park. But yeah, I think he's been okay this season, and he has made a useful contribution to the side despite a shocking penalty against that might have actually been against Newcastle as well. Mistake against United. He has contributed, last minute winning penalty against Leeds as well at Stamford Bridge where he didn't play that well. So yeah, he's contributed, but yeah, I think a 6.5 is fair for him. Not as good as last season, but he still had moments.
Yeah, I'm stuck between exactly the 2 ratings you boys have given him. One side of me is thinking give him a 7. One side of me is thinking give him a 6.5. I think I'll go 6.5. Just otherwise we're stuck and we don't have time for polls. The only thing I find strange is while I agree with both Charlie and Pice on this that he passes it too slowly, I find it weird that he's the only one who gets criticised for it. because no one mentions it about Thiago Silva other than me, and especially when playing a back three, the central centre back is equally, if not even more important to build up than.
I do agree
any
with you on that, by the way.
Sorry?
I do agree with you on that, by the way. He does pass it too slow.
I appreciate that you agree with me, at least. I appreciate it. But let's move on from Jorginho and move to Mateo Kovacic. Injured a bit too much, but phenomenal football player. 44 games in total, which is 2 more just than N'Golo Kante, but also only 3 less than Jorginho. 2 goals, which is the same as N'Golo Kante, and 6 assists, which is just 1 more than N'Golo Kante. And look at these stats of these 3. Like, that's so similar. Kante came on in 11, Kovacic came on in 11. Kante came off in 16, Kovacic came off in 17. Jorginho came off in 16 as well. Like, mental, these 3, man. So why do all these people have double nationalities and Kovacic doesn't? He's born in Austria. You could give him the Austrian flag here. Go on then. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. I'm anywhere between a 7.5 and an 8. That's what I'm thinking. Probably an 8. I'm going to say 8. Pies, I know you're the biggest fan, so why don't you go first out of you 3, of course. Do you think my 8 is even harsh, or would you go along with it?
I was thinking 8 or 8.5. I'm probably going to go with an 8 because I think, I mean, I feel like he's definitely had more than 1 injury this season, but has he had 3 or 4? Like, I feel like he's been out for quite a long time, like like in different periods, you know, like he's out, So, I mean, I think he's a fantastic player, but I would go with an 8. I think he could get even higher next season, honestly. Yeah, I don't know, man. It just depends if he can stay fit, but I mean, some of these injuries, though, by the way, are just not his fault. Like that, some of the, like, it's just, I mean, the Crystal Palace one where I don't even know how he played the final, by the way, but the way he rolled his ankle, that was horrible. And then, obviously, he did his ankle as well before, so yeah, just unfortunate. But hopefully next season he's not as injured.
Hopefully. Do you think, though, that while his numbers got a bit better this season, his output numbers, they still need to improve drastically? Because 2 goals and what is it, 5 assists? Is it?
He ain't gonna score goals though. Like he's never gonna score goals. I'm surprised he's even got
no
2.
one's expecting him to score 10 goals, but I think you can chip in more than 2. And also the assists need to be a bit more.
No, I'm quite happy. I'm quite happy with his assists, to be fair, because he was barely getting any. Like he could, like the thing is with Kovacic is he was never a progressive passer. Like he never really tried it. I always knew he had it in him because he's got the technical ability to, and I think his passing is good in general. But to get the amount of assists he has this season, I think it's very good progression. And if he can get sort of between,
mate, he's got 1 more assist than Ruben Loftus-Cheek.
Yeah, but Loftus-Cheek has always been known as more of an attacking midfielder than.
But not as a passer, though. The one thing Ruben's not good at is passing, if anything.
But he's always contributed. Like, if you think of a goals assist type player, like you would back Ruben more than you would Kovacic. Like, even I would. Like, it's just something that, like, Ruben for me isn't, you know, a 6 or even a double pivot player for me personally. I think he could play even further forward.
But he did play there, though, this season. He played the same position.
Yeah, no, he did.
If anything, he played more defensive than Koba over the season because he played as a 6 so often.
Yeah, I think... I don't know.
I think Kovacic's numbers need to go up just because I think he's way better than those numbers. I see what you're saying, but I think that's just another sign of him not making the most of his ability in the past, and he needs to start making more of it, in my opinion. Because he has so much talent. He can't easily be a 5 goals, 10 assists every season player, easily.
I feel like Kovacic is kind of the guy that will pass to the front 3 and then whoever, like, almost like a pre-assist. I'd be interested to see how many pre-assists he's got. Not that that's taken into anything consideration in terms of actual assists, but like he definitely he fizzes the ball always out wide or always into a forward or always into space. Like, none of our midfielders do that, play in that position. So yeah, that's what I'd say.
Fair. Charlie, then 2.8 so far for Mateo Kovacic. Would you go along with that?
Probably just go to 7.5. What, for 2 reasons? One, he picks up a lot of injuries, and like Pi said, they're not all his fault, but he does seem to miss chunks of the season quite regularly. So for me, that's like 7.5 for that reason. And what you boys have just said, like, I know he's not a goal-scoring midfield player, but you know, we only play 2 midfielders in our back 3 system, and someone's got to contribute a little bit more. I'm not saying, double figures or anything like that, but you need more than 2 goals. Aspie scored more goals than him this season. Like, you need a bit more. His output for me has got to improve next season. Phenomenal player and definitely our most important midfield player. But for me, if we're going to really push on and close that gap, Kovacic, needs to be fitter for more part of the season, and his output's got to improve. In my opinion, like for a midfield player that plays that many games, to only have 2 goals it's not really good enough for me. So I still think he's a top player, and he's been great this season. But yeah, the 7.5 rather than the 8 for those 2 reasons.
Fair. And then Clutch, 2 8s and 1 7.5. What are you gonna give Kovacic?
I'm gonna give him the 8. I don't necessarily agree with that, because the system we play, the wingbacks are more attacking than our midfielders 9 times out of 10. So I do think he's even when it's Aspie. It is, but it's not supposed to be. Aspie is not that great going forward, but that's still how we try to use the position.
Gets in the box a lot. It's just Kovacic that chooses not to.
But usually when Kante plays, he plays with Kovacic, which makes Kovacic have to stay back.
Does he? I don't know.
It's always been Kovacic or Jorginho. It's almost always
with Kante, and how many games he's played with Jorginho. It's probably fairly even. But I don't know. So.
But I tend to agree. He is our most progressive midfielder that we have, and it's only improving. So I do think on the basis I thought that said he was 29. I was like, okay, 28 still, but still, I think he's improving. And I think going forward, that's why I kind of want to switch to more of a back 4. Is also would benefit him to be in an 8 position going forward. Sure. So I'd give him an 8.
Fair dues. Let's move on then. Again, we'll leave in the Mount and Havertz and Ziyech for a second. Let's go to Ruben. Who knew that he had heritage from Guyana in South America? The more you know, right? But still, 50 times in the squad, 40 appearances, 22 of those from the bench. So definitely our super sub this season. Let me check. Did Pulisic or anyone have more? No, Pulisic has 17 of the bench. So Ruben was quite literally our super sub this season. So fair play to him, I suppose. Now, compared to what I expected from him at the start of the season, he's done better than that. As much as I love him, not necessarily only in performances, but in number of games, and certainly better than anybody else expected, because I don't think anybody expected for him to play nearly double the amount of games compared to Saúl Ñíguez. So from that perspective, he's done very well. But there's also been games I'm like, I need you to do more. Like, especially the start of the season, number one, the start of the season, he was brilliant whenever he played. And then the more he got game time, the more I'm like, okay, you've had so much game time now. I need you to start to get better. Because before that, I'm like, okay, you was injured. You was at Fulham. I get it. I give you time. But as the second half of the season came on, I think there could have been a bit more, which is why I'm going to give him a 6.5. Yes, I think he needed to do a bit more for me to give him a 7. You guys might go even lower than me. Don't care. I'm going to give him a 6.5. Charlie, what about you? In the end, if anything, I'm surprised he played 40 games. Who would have thought that at the start of the season? 1 goal, which was a big goal, to be fair, against Palace in the FA Cup semi-final. 5 assists, like I said already, 1 less than Kovacic, 1 more than Jorginho, and the same amount as Kante. So not half bad in that sense.
No, do you know what? I think Ruben's done quite well this season. He's been very versatile as well. He's been asked to play in a lot of different positions. He played in the back 3.
Also just 1 less assist than Hakim Ziyech, which is
he played back 3 against Luton. I think he was in the middle of that back 3. He's also contributed a couple of times at right wing back and done very well. I thought he was very good in the Bernabeu away at Real Madrid. What I would say is that for the ability he's got, and Tuchel said it a number of times, that Ruben needs to realise how good he is and show everyone in the stadium how good he is, not just show the guys at training. I do think sometimes he's played within himself when he could offer more. I think he's a talented boy, and it's an interesting thing. It'll be interesting to see what happens with him this summer, whether he stays or goes, because he's at an age now where he really needs to kick on. I think he's had a good season. I would go with the 7. I think he's done really well for someone that is realistically just a squad player. I think he can be pleased with how he's done.
Fair. What I should have looked at already, but haven't so far, by the way. Here it says the amount of minutes they played all season. So there you see Jorginho, while only having 3 more games in total than Kovacic and 5 more than Kante, played a lot more minutes than both. And And Ruben's not far off Kante. I mean, it's still 600 minutes, but it's not. It's close. Ruben is closer to Kante than Kante is to Jorginho, which is mental. But you know what? Hey, if somebody else says 7, I'm not going to disagree with it. So 7 it is. Pice. What are you going to go for? 6, 6.5, 7, probably in and around that realm, I assume.
Yeah, I was going to go with 6.5. I think he's done really, really well, to be honest. Yeah, especially I was most impressed with his right wing back / hybrid midfield shifts. I'm guessing like when he first played that, I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
And all of a sudden, 1-6
bro, this was a madness. But yeah, no, I kind of like how Tuchel kind of made him kind of like this hybrid where he drop into midfield as well, and it was kind of like not really a wing back, that kind of a wing back if you needed him to be. I quite like that. So. Yeah, it's definitely something interesting going forward. But yeah, I'll go with 6.5. I think it's fair. I think he's been a bit above the average rating of a 6. I think he's played some nice games. I still think he can drive forward with that ball more and get back to the old Ruben. But
did any of you, by the way, sorry to interrupt you there, Pice, did any of you see Jack Grealish's interview after they won the league?
Yeah, I saw that.
And when he was speaking about how he's like so worried that Pep doesn't want them to lose the ball, that it almost freezes them a little bit. I think that's quite literally the definition of Ruben's problem this season. I think he's so worried is the wrong word, but so a bit scared to do something really bad, which loses him his place in the squad, that he's not quite willing to take the risk that he needs to show how good he is, if that makes sense. Do you see what I mean?
I mean, but Tuchel, like, for example, if he was to do that and he cost us a goal or whatever, and then Tuchel dropped him, like, I would.
Well, he did it against Watford, and all of you were on
like I would then, like, moving forward, if that happens again, I would tend to back Loftus-Cheek more, because then you would quite literally say to Tuchel, but you told me to be, you told me to unleash the beast. You told me to be, get back to my old self. And my old self was going on these mental, crazy, daring runs, which had people compare him to the likes of Yaya Toure. Remember, that was the comparison everyone made, because it was a spitting image. He was the same height, same physicality, same, when he went forward.
Just and he way more agile. I know people don't like to hear that because Yaya's a legend, but...
Bro, he did that 3 or 4 times per game. He probably does it once now. That's what I mean.
Even this season, remember back to that Juve game where we won 4-0? His dribble through the box for Callum's goal was mental.
Yeah, that was probably one of the favourite games of the season. That was such good vibes. How can you lose 1-0 and then beat them 4-0? Makes no sense.
Well, it was quite simple. Just have Lukaku get injured.
Oh, God.
Sorry, I had to do that one there. But fair. 2 7s then, 1 6.5, clutch. Which one are you going to go for? Or a different one?
I'd probably give him the 6.5. A little bit above average. I do want him to not hold on to the ball as long. I do think you have a point when you're talking about Tuchel saying that, or Grealish comparing how he's afraid to take risks. I mean, we quite literally heard Cho say that earlier on in the season, that some of the players are too afraid to actually go out there and dribble because they don't want to go and lose the ball, because Tuchel emphasizes keeping the ball. So maybe that's his problem too. So maybe there's more to come if you just let him be himself, like a lot of these players need to be. So I give him a 6.5.
And by the way, I don't just think this problem applies for Ruben. I think this applies for all of our forwards, aside from Ziyech, who doesn't give a shit, and Mason Mount, who's confident enough because he plays so much no matter what. But I think for Pulisic, for Callum, sometimes Kai, I think it applies for all of these guys, that they are sometimes too concerned about losing the ball and getting the bollocking. For like HM, as much as I disagree with a lot of what you've said so far in the chat, express themselves. I honestly feel that. But let's get to Saúl. Now, I would say worst signing of the season. It's between him and Sarr, even though, did we sign Sarr this summer, yeah? Like last summer, sorry.
No, he come in.
No, we signed him some before and loaned him to Porto, didn't we? That's it. But it was his first season with us. Yeah. I mean, look at the stats here. Just to played in the end 23 times, was in the squad 55 times. So that shows you how often he was an unused sub for. In the end, 1,200 minutes, which is almost less than half than Loftus-Cheek, which is mental. 1 goal, which was a good goal on this week, for to be fair, away at Luton. Was that Luton where he scored that goal? I reckon it was. No assists. Really not good. And I mean, the first 2 games he played for us, on both occasions, he was subbed off at half time because of how bad he was. He then fixed himself a little bit, number one, that Luton game. But then for the very last part of the season, we basically didn't see him. I know he, for some reason, came on for the last 10 minutes against Real Madrid. Still never understand why, but sure. But yeah, the definition of underwhelming. I think he warrants the lowest rating of any player in the squad this season. I'm going to give him a 3. I think it was worse than Sarr because Saúl had like 1 good game, and that was against Luton. Sarr had more than that, I would say. So yeah, I'm going to give him a 3. Clutch, what about you?
I think he had more than 1 good game. I think he had like 2 or 3 in a row, and then he got dropped, and we didn't see him for like 7 months or something. But it's still not good enough. It was still never good enough. He failed to adapt to the speed of the Premier League. He failed to adapt to a lot of Tuchel's like philosophies. The best he looked was when we put him in a lone DM, which is saying something because he's not that. Yeah, 3 is probably where I'd go to.
Fair. Charlie, what about you?
Yeah, he's been awful, let's be perfectly honest. You know, the fact that this guy who came over Tchouameni is criminal, sackable offence for all involved. Yeah, just crap, basically. Offered absolutely nothing. 1 good goal against Luton. Had a run of a few decent games. Remember, he come on second half against Wolves away when we were ravaged with COVID, and he did pretty well for a couple of games on the back of that. But yeah, just utterly useless. One of the worst signings we've ever made. So yeah, for me, I think a 3. I'll go with a 3. Could even give less, but we'll go with a 3.
Fair. Pice, then, what about you? You going to go along with that 3 or?
Yeah, I could probably give less, but I mean, yeah, I could probably give less fucks too. To be honest, he was. I mean, he done nothing to engage with the fans. I mean, even on a temporary loan or whatever. Like, I don't know, man. Like the most promising and warmth I felt to him was probably his like hello tweet he did and stuff like that. So, I mean, yeah, this guy was absolutely awful. I mean, to be honest, after his debut, I think he was finished mentally anyway. Like getting subbed off at half time on your debut, like that would finish me anyway. So yeah, I don't know, man. He's not even been good for years, by the way. That's why I can't believe we signed him, was because like it's just ridiculous. Apparently Scott McLaughlin had been scouting him for the last 2 years. Well, literally every single Atletico Madrid fan and non-Atletico Madrid fan said he'd been crap for the last few years, since like 2018 or something. So
yeah, didn't even play for Atletico for the last 18 months.
Bro, it's ridiculous. Why is Chelsea Football Club signing him when we play in all the big competitions? Like, it's just move on. 3. Less I said, the better.
There you go. Now, about Ross Barkley and Kennedy, shall we just give them both an NA? Because, I mean, Barkley played 450 minutes. Kennedy played 130 minutes in total. I think, obviously, Barkley scored the winner yesterday, but other than that, and him scoring the penalty in the Carabao Cup final, and that absolute wonder pass against Leeds for Aspi, who squared it for Timo Werner early in the season, those are the only 3 things I remember from Ross Barkley, full stop.
Southampton, bro. Okay.
Southampton, not Leeds. There you go. Fair enough. But still, we all know the pass. Probably the best pass any player played at this football club all season, by far. By the way, what a ball! Which is partly the depressing thing, because we all take the piss out of Barkley and everything, but Barkley has everything to be a great footballer except the brain. Like he's physically very, very good. He's tall. He's reasonably quick. He's strong. He's got a great shot on him. He's got a great weak foot on him. Got a pass in him like barely anybody else. But he just don't have the brain to do it. Like, he just does not have the capabilities to, number 1, listen to instructions, and number 2, see what's going on the football pitch and take too long. I mean, prime example of that was Sarri's season, whenever he came on, we were like, man, you're like playing on slow motion compared to everybody else. But let's just give him an NA. Keeps everything a bit quicker. So why don't we get to Mason Mount, the guy who officially won Player of the Season? I'm very intrigued, by the way, when we find out who won Players Player of the Season. I'm going to be very intrigued who that's going to be. But 53 games, 12 of which is a sub, but still 53 games, the second most only to Antonio Rüdiger, even more so than Mendy, not in minutes, but in terms of games. 13 goals, 16 assists, 29 goal contributions. Only Eden Hazard has had more than that since Frank Lampard. And I know people say he weren't good enough, but 29 goal contributions, no matter what you think who that was against, 29 goal contributions is a great season, no matter what anyone says. 29 goal contributions. You know how long it's been since we've had that? Diego Costa never got 29 goal contributions because Diego Costa didn't get many assists and never scored more than 20 goals. So, like, that says something. But it's difficult to rate him still. Now, I tweeted this weeks ago, or not weeks ago, a few days ago. I'm like, I don't think and I didn't in the end. I'm not going to vote for anybody for player of the season because, quite frankly, I don't think anyone deserved it. Because the only one I think that did is Reece James, and he didn't play enough, essentially. And I know we talk about Rudiger and Thiago Silva, all well and good, but we're Chelsea Football Club. Do you know what I mean? That the only reason why Thiago Silva and Rudiger were the standout ones is because all we do is defend half the time, or pass the ball sideways. I know I'm still a bit on a negative hype from the last 2 weeks because Chelsea just trigger me, but do I think Mount deserved it? Probably not. But do I think he was as far off as some people make it out? Also no. Again, 29 goal contributions is incredible. I am going to give him an 8.5. I gave Thiago Silva an 8.5, Rudiger an 8.5, and Reece James an 8.5. Maybe I gave Reece James a 9, I can't remember. I think they're all going to be in the same thing. Do I think that Mount was better overall? No, that's why I'm giving the same rating. But again, at the end of the day, if he doesn't score those goals and no one else did, you know where we are? In the mud. So that's why I'm going to say 8.5. Charlie, what about you? Do you think 8.5 is too high? Do you think it's warranted? What do you think?
I was going to go with the 9, to be honest, mate. I think, where would we be without those goal contributions from him? It's scary to think because no one else in that front line stepped up whatsoever. It was the only one that consistently was putting up numbers. Now, whether you think they're good numbers or not, I've seen people in the chat saying, oh, he's got 4 goals against top half opposition. Phil Foden got 1 goal against the top 7 sides or whatever against Liverpool, and he won Young Player of the Year, and people,
that's silly anyway.
So it's like, at the end of the day, you can only score what's against in front of you. What? So you're going to use the fact that he scored goals against him because of the opposition? This is a nonsense argument. It's really stupid. Complete lack of awareness and education about football to say that those shouldn't count because they're against lesser sides. You've still got to put it in the net. And yeah, most important player for us in the front line. Only one that's consistent. And I think I wouldn't say he's had a better season than Silva. I'd say on a par with him. So I'd go with the 9. And I think the only reason he won the Chelsea Player of the Year is because, generally speaking, attackers get favoured in all the awards more than defenders do. So, but I think Mount's been superb this season. And as you say, mate, we'd be fully in the mud without his contribution.
There you go. Did either of you know, by the way, that Liverpool did not win a single game against any team that finished in the top 4? Isn't that hilarious?
Yeah, all draws.
That is hilarious. And we should have beaten them on 2 occasions. Well, in the league on 2 occasions, in my opinion, we should have beaten them. But hey, here we are. Now, Pice, I know you're unhappy with myself, and especially clearly after what you just said, Charlie's opinion on this. So what are you going to give Mason Mount?
Not much lower. I'd probably 8 or an 8.5. I don't know. The thing is with me that's triggering me is the finals. And also his whole speech yesterday at the game, he kind of made it out as if it was a really good season, which I have doubts over his mentality, to be honest.
Did he say that?
Yeah, he was saying like, just.
Well, no wonder if the manager teaches you that it's a great season because Tuchel keeps saying it.
I don't know. I think he tweeted out like, "What a season" or something. It's like, shut up. It's not been what a season at all. So yeah, I don't know. That triggers me a bit. I probably should go with an 8.5 just because if he didn't get those goal contributions, where would we be? So I probably will go for an 8.5, but he was not my player of the season. I don't know. I mean, I know how he won it because it's a fan vote. Yeah, I mean, the fans love Cobham players, but that's just a fact. Yeah, I mean, the first final, the Carabao, absolutely inexcusable. I don't know how he's got away with that. Like, I'm sorry, like, no. And the second one, I mean, more of a general debate because I think, we could have done more as a team, I think, to win in the second final. But the chances he had in the first final were unforgivable.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that one, 1,000,000%. Fair then, Clutch. 2 8.5s and 1 9 so far. What are you going to give Big Mason Mount?
I pretty much agree with everything Pius said. I am going to give him the 8.5. He is the best of a bad bunch, which is kind of the only way to put it. He is you could say our most consistent player, but for the amount of minutes he has versus the next closest, who I think is Kai Havertz in minutes, who's only got he's got more goals total, less contributions, but more goals. So it just depends.
But also plays a different position.
He does play a different position. He does play striker, which is what you're supposed to do, is put the ball in the back of the net. But it's just, there's an overarching conversation we can talk about. He's the best of a bad bunch. Now, does that mean he was fantastic? No, I don't think he was fantastic by any stretch of the imagination. I think he was just good. That's it. I don't think it's great. I don't think it's fantastic. I don't think he's close to being player of the season. Like we've said before, he's not in the top 3, in my opinion. Yes, he's got good goal contributions, but at the end of the day, and this is me saying it as a Mason Mount lover, he's my second favorite player on the team. But if we're going to criticize other players, but yeah, the numbers don't lie. He has like 1,000 more minutes than any other player, and he doesn't have that much more. He has more assists, sure, but he also takes the corners. So you can talk about things.
Well, yeah, whenever anybody else takes the corners, we never score from them. So
true, that is true. But who else takes corners? Alonso.
Yeah, Alonso, and sometimes Ziyech, and I swear they're never.
That's it.
Reece James should take corners, in my opinion.
Yeah, but he takes them like Fabregas did at the end, where he doesn't put enough power on it. It really triggers me. He just lofts them. I'm like, how is anyone in the box going to put enough power on the header to score if you loft the ball in? Whip it. You need to put some pace on that. Otherwise, the header's never going to be hard enough. But that's a whole different discussion. Fair enough. Mason Mount gets his 8.5. Now, who do we do next? I mean, it says Kai Havertz here, but I kind of want to do him and Lukaku as the 2 strikers. So who's next? Hakim Ziyech might as well. I know Charlie needs to go in a second. So how soon do you need to go? 1 minute, 2 minutes type thing?
I can do Ziyech, and that'll be fine.
There you go. So why don't you just start with Ziyech, and then we'll say goodbye to you. And Pice, I know you didn't have unlimited times either, so when you need to go, just let me know. We'll have to rattle it too without you guys. Nothing we can do. It's just too many players. But Hakim Ziyech, Charlie, start it off for me.
Do you know, mate, just really underwhelming. You know, the frustrating thing is there's so much ability with Ziyech. You know, he's a fabulous technician. He's probably our most talented forward player in terms of technique, the way he delivers a football and stuff. But for me, at his age now as well, it's not like we can use the age argument and say, oh, do you know what? You know, he might get a bit better. The guy's, 28 now? You know, the chances of him actually improving as a footballer, he's not really going to get much better. We need to find more consistency from him. He's had good moments. Again, he's suffered with fitness issues as well. You know, he'll go on a run of a little bit like Pulisic as well and other forwards, maybe Havertz also. You know, he'll go on a run of a few games where he does really well. They'll go missing for about a month. You won't see him. And then he comes back, has another couple of decent games, goes missing again. So I think frustrating is what sums him up, because there's undoubted ability there, but he's not delivered it on a consistent enough occasion. But what I will say is he did score a worldy goal against Spurs, and he has dug us out a few holes. Last minute winner against Crystal Palace away, where we played awfully. So he has contributed occasionally this season, but I'm just underwhelmed. I just think he's been average this season. I'm going to have to go over 6.
Fair. Okay. So then, Charlie, I appreciate you for being here, mate. I know you didn't have all the time in the world, but I appreciate you for popping in. Everybody, make sure you subscribe to his channel, The Blues Brothers. Link is down in the description. Help him get to 500. We didn't quite make it by the end of the season.
No,
but
not quite.
You know, there's still Nations League to come, Champions League to come. So the season's not officially over. So, you know, we still got some time. So everybody go, make sure you subscribe to Charlie's channel. Charlie, appreciate you. Take care, mate.
No, thanks, lads. Take care. See you later.
Cheers. Pice, why don't I go to you? Charlie gave Ziyech a 6. Would you go along with that? Would you go a little higher potentially?
No, probably a 6, to be honest. I do think he's been average. I don't think a lot of it is his fault. For whatever reason, I mean, it doesn't seem to work in this formation. He seems to play way better when he's got more width in the 4, rather than an inside forward role. But still, I mean, even yesterday, bro, to be honest with you, he played 3 at the back. He had plenty of width to do stuff. And he was just really, really predictable. He's very, very one-footed. So unfortunately, when you're not or when you're a left-footed winger and you don't have a right foot, then can be pretty big for you because a lot of defenders just know what you're going to do. So, or the good ones anyway. So yeah, I think that kind of makes him struggle more, but as well as less space in this league as well. I think so. I would go over 6. He's got quite a few goal contributions to be fair, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I just feel like yeah, I don't know. I think I expect so much more from him. No, actually, no. I'll go 6.5 because Azpi got a 6. I think he's been better than Azpi.
But do you think he was as good as Jorginho? Because that's my problem. Because I want to give him a 6.5 myself, but I feel like if Jorginho has a 6.5, I'm not sure if I think he was as good as Jorginho over the whole season.
I would say they had more. Like I'd say they had similar sort of contributions. Like you was mentioning some of Jorginho's assists, Ziyech goals against that goal against Brighton, Spurs. Who's his other goals
Palace.
against? Trying to think now. Palace. Yeah, that was a big one because we were
Yeah.
struggling in that game. No, I would go 6.5. I would go 6.
Fair dues. Clutch, 6.5, 6 in and around that realm. What are you going to go for?
I'm probably going to go with the 6. I'm one of the advocates that reason why I want to go to a back four is because of players like Pulisic, Ziyech, Mason Mount, Kovacic. I think Ziyech just thrives off that right wing a lot more. He has the space to kind of do things that he needs to do. He is our best passing player, like by far. No one can deliver a pass like him. Maybe
Well,
Reece
except
James,
Ross Barkley,
maybe.
obviously.
We don't talk about that one instance of Ross Barkley.
Still cannot believe he pulled that. I cannot believe he even saw it, let alone actually made it work. Like, sorry, I keep going on about this pass.
He had some Gatorade before the game. That's what happened.
Yeah.
No, but it's kind of unfair for him because earlier in the season I used to say like I don't like his attitude. He doesn't work off the ball. His attitude seems to have improved. He works off the ball now. He's doing things where I think he's improved a lot in the things I thought were hindering him. So I'd give him a 6.
Fair. See, I'm going to give him a 6.5, but again, we don't have time for polls now, so I do apologize, ladies and gentlemen in the chat. I'm just going to write down both. Do you know what I mean? And say 6/6.5 type thing. Who shall we go to next? Now, I would love Callum Odoi, but I don't see him anywhere, which is kind of half my problem. Okay, am I missing anybody?
He's probably down with the forwards, isn't he?
He would be, yeah, but I need to remember I need to go back up to Kai Havertz later.
I'll remember you. I'll remember.
You remember, thank you. Let's do Callum Hudson-Odoi. Now, let's look at the numbers of games he played. Now, he played 28 games. Callum Hudson-Odoi, oh my God, played less minutes this season than Ruben Loftus-Cheek, and that by 300 minutes, which means more than 3 full games less. Mental. Absolutely mental. To be fair, of his 28 games, 22 of them were starts, so that's pretty decent. 3 goals, nowhere near good enough. 6 assists is decent, though, to be fair. But, yeah. Pius, why don't I go with you first? The problem is he's been injured for so long now. I'm not sure, mate. Knowing you don't usually watch all the press conferences. Only earlier, a couple of hours ago, I watched the press conference with Thomas Tuchel after yesterday's game, and someone actually finally properly wanted a more detailed question and answer by Tuchel about Hudson-Odoi. And how he explained Hudson-Odoi's situation is it kind of started as an Achilles injury, but it kind of became a problem where his whole both of his whole legs were struggling, and he doesn't have enough strength in his legs to play at the moment. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure they will fix it by the time we get to next season, but no one knows why that is the case. Or Tuchel didn't seem to be fully aware, but he basically explained it as a muscle injury. It's not an Achilles injury; it's a muscle injury all over his legs. Again, crazy, but yeah, I mean, there was good periods of him at the start of the season, certainly periods where he should have scored more, but still periods where he played well. And I think we probably would have had a bit of a better end to the season had he at least been available. I'm not saying he should necessarily have started every game had he been available, but he would have been an option, and he brings us something different that the other forwards we have don't really do. So it's a shame that he missed so much of the season. I really hope that whatever his injury issues are, that they get resolved by the time we get to next season and he has a great preseason, and then hopefully we can see a better Callum Hudson-Odoi next season. But Pice, Number one, what do you think about the explanation of his injury? And also, what would you rate him?
Well, as you know, I started that podcast up, and I had Paul Cannaville and his right-hand man, Gary Trousdale, on the other day, and he actually told me that he met Hudson-Odoi, I think not last game, the game before, and basically I'd asked him about his injury, and he said that essentially it has been an Achilles injury this whole time, and he's basically been in and out the last sort of couple of months or so, basically just having treatment on it constantly. So it's obviously quite bad. He said that Hudson-Odoi is really looking forward to next season, and yeah, he's just like been raring to go, and he's been really missed playing. So that's what I can say on it, because that's what Paul said to me. So yeah, I think overall, I'm not.
I would assume Tuchel knows better than Paul Cannaville as much as I love Canners.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm just saying, like, for anyone who
Yeah.
didn't know the injury or so, he did say it was Achilles, because I know a lot of people thought it was his back or whatever, but yeah, he's been having a lot of treatment on it, so hopefully he does get better. But
Hopefully.
yeah, what rating did you give him?
I haven't given him one yet, mate.
All right. It's so hard because like it's been so long that I don't fucking hardly remember when he was playing. Like
Yeah.
I actually saw a 20 like this season's comp of him. Someone made a comment. I was like, holy shit, yeah, actually he's really, really good. When he did play, but yeah, I don't know. What do I give him? A 5.5, a 6 for when he did play? I don't know. Something like that. It's hard.
See,
Like, it's really
I know
hard.
Charlie brought that in when he came on with when we spoke about Reece James, that he didn't play enough to get as high as we gave him. I'm not going to include. I'm going to judge him for when he was available, and I think overall there was some good, some bad. I was going to give him the same 6.5 we gave Ziyech. And I know people might think that's too high, but I think the games that he did play was no worse than Ziyech was on average.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Fair.
I just
I
think
mean,
with
hey, if you want to go low
Hudson-Odoi,
because he didn't play more, I get that. But like I said, I think that's
no,
harsh.
yeah,
He
I agree.
wasn't injured on purpose, was he?
I think with Hudson-Odoi, he just needs more goals. Like his goal scoring record is atrocious, so he needs more
What is it?
goals.
4 Premier League goals in
Yeah,
like
he's
4
obviously
years.
he's more of a creator and stuff, but he needs more goals, 100%.
100%. All right then, clutch 2 6.5s. Do you think we're being too nice with that, or what would you give him?
I'm going to give him the same I gave Ziyech, a 6. I think there were good moments, but then there were really bad moments. I think they kind of outweigh each other, and especially for the time or for the amount of game time they both have. So I kind of put them in the same boat. Like I've discussed earlier on in the season, I do think, like Pius just said, he's a better creator. He's a better crosser of the ball, which is why I kept asking for him to be put off the right, because I think that's what his best attribute is. I don't think he's a scorer. I don't think he has the want to do that necessarily. Maybe the want, but the mentality, I don't know how to put it. It's not really that. But overall, I think if we can get the best out of Callum, he's going to be a very good player in the future.
100%. I mean, Major General saying here, Ziyech single-handedly won us games with this goals, which obviously Callum didn't, considering he only scored 3. Well, he might have done, but I know he scored against Juve. Don't remember the other goals he scored. Might have scored one in a cup, where he scored the first one against Cheltenham. Was that his goal, the first one?
Yeah, very good finish into the far right corner. He scored.
Exactly. Don't remember where and when his third goal came off. Which I see that comment by this Major General. I see it, but I think that's partly also with him being available a lot less. What was his minute in the end? 1,800, and how much did Ziyech play? 4,200. Well, it's 600 more. Maybe the 6 would be more fair. You know what? I actually think I think he warrants a 6.5, but I think he doesn't warrant as high of a rating as Ziyech. And if Ziyech is between a 6.5 and 6, I think Hudson-Odoi, I'll give him a 6. Let's get to Christian Pulisic then. Don't need to type his first name. The surname will do, as they have done for the other one. Numbers: 8 goals, 5 assists, 38 games in total, with 17 of which off the bench. And even the ones he did start was subbed off pretty much every time. Yeah. Tough one. Very, very tough one. What rating to give him? I think I'll give him the 6.5 that we gave Ziyech. I don't think it was better overall than Ziyech. Scored 2 more goals, but obviously has 3 less assists. So played about the same number of games and minutes. So clutch. Why don't I go with you? Do you think it's fair to give them? I mean, I know you gave Ziyech a 6.5, 6, but do you think a 6.5 is about warranted for Christian?
I think him, Cho, and Ziyech will the same, in my opinion. I give him a 6. I think, but here's the kicker. Christian Pulisic has the least amount of minutes out of everyone, not named Callum Hudson-Odoi, who was out for a couple months. Least amount of minutes for any attacker. Most of those minutes he's been playing either striker or right wing back. So I'm not going to say he deserves more, but the numbers that he has are based off of like 3 months or something since January, I think, is when they finally started putting him in the front 3. So, I mean, he's still not good. His finishing is a problem. Like, what was it? A couple games ago where he should have finished whatever it was. I can't remember.
Liverpool.
But, yeah.
And then Leicester.
Leicester's the one. Liverpool, I think he probably had one clear chance, which was the one-on-one with Alisson that he probably should have buried. But, yeah, he needs to be more clinical because that is what his game is. I think he
he should have scored the cutback that he put slightly wide?
No. I think that's a hard goal. Well, yeah. Yeah, he should have scored that.
I think you got to score that, but fair. Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, Ardy obviously loves Pulisic stats, his favorite thing. I'm not sure if that's true. I mean, hey, you're the one for the Pulisic stats, but I don't think it's 8 to 10 games. It might be like 6 to 8, but I think 8 to 10 is exaggerating a little bit. And some of them were from the bench as well, so like, who cares? But Pice, a 6 from Clutch, a 6.5 from myself. What are you going to give Pulisic?
Oh, it's such a hard one to rate. I don't know. God, it's so hard. It's in between those two.
He has to get whatever the other two have gotten. That's just how it is. I'm sorry. Anything other is just criminal.
What did I give Ziyech? Did I give him a 6.5? I think I did.
I think you did.
Yeah, he's got to have the same as Ziyech. Yeah, 6.5, I think. Yeah, I don't know. It's with Pulisic, it's one where I think to get an accurate rating, you'd have to go on for ages about all sorts of different contexts to reach a conclusion. But I think just based off what we've said and what you two guys have said, I'll go with a 6.5.
Okay. Now, what I've written down for all 3 of them now is 6/6.5 because there's been differing opinions and none of us have been very sure about any of it. Now, which attackers are we missing? Why don't we go to our favorite player, Timo Werner? Our favorite player, Pice. Why don't you kick that one off? I mean, when you look at the stats, 37 games, 13 of which off the bench, 2,200 minutes, which is less than 1 game more than Loftus-Cheek. Mental. But 11 goals and 6 assists. Again, the stats don't read that bad. But how many of those goals have been relevant? How many Premier League goals does he have? 5? Is it?
No, I think it's less than that. I think it's like 4. Hold on. Yeah, 4.
I'll check right now. I mean, you just started talking there anyway, so Clutch, why don't you go first?
Yeah, it's 4 Premier League goals. But overall, I mean, he's had his little resurgence towards the end of the season, but for the guy who came from Dortmund, who scored a lot of goals, I don't know why I said Dortmund. I saw it in the chat, I think.
That's why
but yeah,
hopefully going to.
yeah, but I think the player that could be, if he had the type of, like, if he was going against the type of defenses that he suits, like the high lines, like a Liverpool or a City, like he could bang a lot of goals again. I don't doubt that because the opportunities that he would get on goal would be a lot more than he does here. So what am I going to give him? What do I have him down for? A 5? 5.5? Maybe a 6? I'm going to go for 5.5.
Fair. Nice. What about you?
Well, thanks for the goal on the Bernabeu, even though we didn't go through. But overall, man, I mean, I swear most of his goals were against Southampton in the league anyway. Wasn't it 3 of his goals were against Southampton? So technically, he has
2.
1 Premier League goal.
Two
Or
was
2
against
Premier League
Southampton.
goals. Like, Jesus Christ. I'm going to have to go for a 5. I honestly think he's awful. And I will debate this with hours with any. Like, I don't know how you can rate Timo Werner. Just watch him play football. He's terrible. So yeah, he's been less than average. The goals assists don't read too bad, but in terms of factoring performance and a rating, nah, I don't rate him at all. I think he lacks so much in this side. He's just got pace. He has no technical ability.
He's not even that fast anymore.
He's always offside. He gets out 50-50 challenges. He misses chances. He can't pass. He can't dribble. It's a 5. I could go even lower, but I don't want to be too harsh. Obviously, that goal in the Bernabeu, honestly, it does him a favour. I'm telling you that.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, had we gone through there, that might have changed a bit, that rating, but I'm going to agree with Price. I'm going to give him a 5. I know the goal output doesn't say that, and I understand if people just want to focus on stats and everything. But
another player, by the way, can I just say another player that gets way too overprotected because he's a nice guy, and he's a humble person. Get out with that.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree. But let's just move on so we can get this one done. Who are we missing? Lukaku and Havertz, is it? Nobody else? Don't think so. I would say Harvey Bale gets an A, all the same as Kennedy and Barkley did, considering he played. Did he actually played 1 minute more than Kennedy did? So fair play. Played 5 times, but 4 of which was as a sub. Only got 1 start. Kennedy got 2 starts, so that says enough. But of course, Harvey Bale was very unfortunate with a lot of illnesses and the Rona and all sorts of different things throughout the season when he might have been used otherwise. Let's get to Kai Havertz now. Good player, great player. Won us the Champions League, had a good month and a bit around March, but otherwise a bit of an underwhelming season, really. I mean, 14 goals, again, doesn't read bad. Obviously, a lot more minutes than Timo Werner, though. And then only 3 more goals is not great. How many more minutes is it? 2-2. And Havertz has, 3-4? 3-2. So like 1,000 more minutes. And he has 3 more goals and the same amount of assists. But, again, it's not just about minutes because it depends on where those minutes came from. Because Havertz was the opposite of a regular starter this season. He played a lot of cup games against less oppositions, which is, of course, where more regular numbers will come up. While, if anything, those were the games that Havertz got rested in, where it would have been easy to stamp pad a bit. In the end, I think he's going to just go along into the same realm as Ziyech, Odoi, and Pulisic, if I'm honest. I don't think he warrants higher. Do you, Poty?
Who, Havertz?
Yeah.
No, I would give him a 7. I think he's been better than those, personally. I think he has. I think it's more responsibility on him as well, to be fair, with how bad Lukaku's been.
I agree with you.
Yeah, I would give him a 7. I don't think he's been the greatest, but I think he did just pips those by a 0.5.
Okay. You know what? Yeah, you're right. So I will agree with that 7. And Clutch, what about you then?
What did we end up giving the other 3? 6.5?
Well, yeah, 6/6.5. Is it really? Because I literally checked about Timo Werner, and here it says he scored 2 against Southampton. So I'm not sure where this...
He scored 2 in that one game, and then he scored 1 in the early...
Okay, I get you now. I understand. I thought it was 3 in that very game.
So you take away Southampton, and Werner's got 1 Premier League goal. Oh, my days.
And if you know, it's the Arsenal goal, which was the luckiest goal he'll ever score in his life.
Oh, it was as well. Oh, my God, I feel sick.
So,
that's bad.
That is bad.
I know the guy in chat sitting there saying, like, Werner is so good. He just needs better players. Bro, he needs defenses to play against. He can't break a low block. His dribbling is probably the most piss-poor thing I've ever seen in my life.
That guy needs the Bundesliga, man. That's what he needs.
Unfortunately, I hate to say that because I do... If Timo Werner could dribble, he'd be such a good footballer, bro. Like, it would be insane. But he doesn't.
Well, he would need to have a first touch first, but...
Yeah.
And shooting. And passing.
Yeah,
So I think you'd get a lot more opportunities if you could dribble, and you'd end up putting 1 out of 30 away a game. So
I tell you what, he would get more assists because the amount of times I've seen this guy this season run down the left-hand side, look clueless, and then just like run straight down the touchline and put a soft cut back in. It's honestly going to be a meme when he leaves Chelsea. I don't know how it isn't already. Like, you know how Willian always used to get the meme for the fake step over, or he used to like do a shimmy before he'd cross the ball like 3 or 4 times. Werner should have a meme.
But those crosses had some pace on them at least.
Yeah, Werner should have a meme for just running down the touchline and putting a soft cut back in. It's the first person. Oh my god.
Yeah, he's a stinker. But Clutch, did you give him a rating already?
Whatever we gave the other 3, Kai is 0.5 higher because of his clutch moments. I think he's had moments where he's had to put the pressure on and he's stepped up. And like Paya said, he's had a lot more responsibility considering Lukaku hasn't turned out to what we wanted Lukaku to be. But I think the part where he needs to be better in the beginning of the season, we can't have 2 seasons in a row where, he's always bad in the beginning of the season. Just give him the rest of the season. We can't keep having that. We can't keep having that. But also next season,
you're not Leverkusen anymore. Those things don't run.
I don't think that he's going to be in a great position come next season, though. Because, I mean, if we're keeping Lukaku, that's 2 people. I don't see him any other position on our squad. I really don't, other than striker. So we're just going to have to see. It's going to be a big season for him, I think.
It will be. It absolutely will be. Now, and the last one. Obviously, Tammy Abraham was in the squad twice, but unused before. Obviously, he left for Roma, and that went for a couple. I think Lewis Baker even played a whole 31 minutes before he left to Trabzonspor, which is no way. Why does it say Trabzonspor? I swear we sold him to Stoke. I swear Lewis Baker is sold to Stoke, and it was.
Yeah, he is, and he's been doing really well for them.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know what this is doing here, but anyway, Romelu Lukaku, 44 games in total, 15 of which is a sub, 15 goals in the end, highest goal scorer at the club, 1 more than Havertz, 2 more than Mason Mount, but 2 assists compared to Havertz's 6 and Mason Mount 16. Obviously, less minutes than both, but still more than maybe some people give. People will make you think Lukaku played 2 games this season. He still played 2,700 minutes, 2,748 minutes if you want to be precise. I mean, he ruined our season basically all by himself with his interview. So, I mean, that automatically gives you negative points. But the start of the season, at the start, that's almost why I'm even more annoyed with him overall, because when he came, now we were all gassed. Then when he first played against Arsenal, even though he only scored 1 and missed a sitter in that game already, and I mean, yeah, it was a great save by Ramsdale, but still a sitter. Or was still Leno in goal that day? Who knows? Excuse me. But we were so hyped. Like, we were so hyped. We were so excited. We were like, this is what we were missing. This is what we needed. And then he played good for like a few weeks. Then he started to already tail off. And people will tell you it was only bad after the injury. It wasn't. It tailed off before the injury. I made the joke about, well, how can you lose away 1-0 to Juve and then at home batter them 4-0? Well, Lukaku be injured helps. Because he missed a sitter away at Juve for us to not at least get a point in that game. Maybe top the group, and then who knows what happens in the Champions League. Although, of course, you know, we got lucky with the draw in round of 16 anyway, and then the quarterfinal draw is a whole new draw anyway. But I don't know what to give him, because 15 goals is decent. 2 assists is poor. Should be more, considering we was like, think of all the layoffs he can do. Should be more than 2 assists with that. Werner got a 5. I'm going to give Lukaku. I don't know. Because some part of me is saying give him a 4. Part of me is saying give him a 6. Which would make me think give him a 5. But then he also is just, even with him being really bad, still way better than Timo Werner. So I kind of want to give him a 5.5. But at the same time, I kind of want to take that half a point back off again, just for him ruining our season, essentially. Well, not ruining our season, but he ruined our flow, any flow that we had with the interview, which he organized himself. You can blame Sky Italia all you want. He organized the interview. Sure. And we don't even know whether he had a say on when it was released. We can all say blame Sky Italia. You have no proof of whether he had anything to do with when it was released either. So for that itself, I'm going to take it back down to a 5. But now there's some reports out of Italy said he doesn't want to stay at Chelsea if Tuchel stays. I mean, Tuchel is definitely staying. I don't quite believe that. I think he will stay, especially after he realized that Inter don't want anything to do with him either. I mean, they take him alone, but the fans don't want anything to do with him. I think since then he's like, oh, better stay here. And I'll give him a second season. On the one hand to hopefully regain some of the transfer value. And number 2, well, I'll give most players a second season. Do you know what I mean? But I don't... Maybe a 5.5 would be okay, but I just think the interview still has some effect. And I think I'm being nice by only taking 0.5 off for that. Clutch, what about you? Do you think it's harsher for me to go as low as I did for Timo Werner?
You gave him a 5?
I did.
Yeah, no, 5 is perfect. I mean, like you said, yes, his goals were... We probably need 10 more out of him for him to be what we need him to be. But at the same time, most of those goals came at the beginning of the season. They didn't come when we needed it. After the interview, he's capitulated completely. And like you said, whether that be
Reece James,
whether that
Wolves, and who else was the other game where he played decent?
West Ham? Was it West Ham?
No.
What about the Club World Cup where he scored the header?
But it was Palmeiras, man. Like, that's no different to him scoring against a championship team.
It's the final, though, right?
Yeah. Like, no, he did well that he scored that goal. Great. But I know people always are, Havertz scored the clutch penalty. Bro, it was Palmeiras. It was embarrassing that we needed that anyway. I don't know. I know you said it at the time already. I think Pi said at the time he clearly rated Palmeiras higher than I did. I'm like, bro, they're not even from Europe. Like the amount of facilities we have compared to anyone in South America is so mental. No, Persh, he didn't. He just was in the squad twice before he was sold. But sorry, Clutch. You agree with the 5 before I take it to Pice?
Yeah, no, I agree with the 5.
Pice then. I mean, you can go high if you want. I'm not stopping you. And yes, Palmeiras are a big team. Being a big team doesn't make you a good team. Right? That's a big thing. There's a lot of big teams in Europe. Marseille, big team. Still, we should be battering them. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, go on, Pice.
I know. I was thinking of a 5, but I might go 5.5. I think 6 is average. When
you say it like that, I want to give him a 4 again.
Yeah, no. You know what? 5 because £100 million. I mean, you could go lower, but again, I think with Pulisic as well, it's kind of like it's not one of the forwards that we've got. You just so much context needs to be applied to. Like you could talk about Lukaku for hours from the start to the middle to the end. Like I'll just go over 5. He's underachieved. But again, I mean, there's Lukaku fans out there that will just absolutely go to town on Tuchel, which they do have half a point. So I mean, yeah, I'll go over 5. There's just more you can talk about it, but we can't be here forever.
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't even so far put into consideration the money he cost. If you, in my opinion, if you include the money, you're back down to a 2. Because, I mean, we paid £100 million for him, and in the end, he was part of what derailed our season. Like, we paid money for someone to derail our season. It doesn't get worse than that, really. But hey, let's leave it at that, and let's finish it off by Thomas Tuchel. We're not going to do a performance rating for the season, obviously, because how's that possible? But we will give Thomas Tuchel a rating. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, just quickly, subscribe if you haven't already, and smash the like button for me, please. Pice, you know what? I'll go with you first. Thomas Tuchel, what would you give him out of 10 for the whole season?
Oh my God. You've just hit the hardest one of them all. Talking about context, Jesus Christ. 7.5, I think. 7 or 7.5. I think he's done incredibly to navigate us through the takeover situation. I think 2 trophies is good. I think The Premier League.
You had count these two seasons to these two trophies to this season.
Well, yeah, because we won them this season. I know they're technically last
Okay,
season.
I mean, the Club World Cup, I get, but especially the Super Cup, meh. Dude, that's last season's trophy.
I still give him a lot of credit for it because, I mean, we've only won it once before, so...
Yeah. I'm not taking any credit away. It's not to do with Tuchel. I didn't even mean that in terms of taking anything away from Tuchel.
It's very hard because even the two finals that we lost, I mean, we didn't concede a goal. We didn't score one either, but we lost them both from fucking penalties. And it's like, even if we won one of those, it's like, that's good. But because we lost both of them, it's a bit of a downer. Overall, sort of managerial performances, I think it's been good, but not the greatest. I think Tuchel can improve the substitution times, especially. One of the things I've noticed this season. I do think sometimes he's a bit late to make changes. I would love us to see us play a different formation, but who knows? I do think some of our football at home has not been the best. Needs to improve next season, but there's been a lot that's been good this season as well. I think where most of the credit comes from for me is I think other managers would have really struggled to go through that transition from an owner. Especially if they I imagine Kante trying to navigate the press throughout this whole time. I think he's done such a good job. He's almost like whatever's gone on behind the scenes, we don't know because it's not. You know what I mean? He's given no indication in his press conferences to give the details. You know what I mean? He's done so well, and I think on the pitch we've done good, not great. So I think 7.5.
Fair. Judge, 7.5 for you. Would you go lower? Would you go higher? What do you think?
No, I think 7 or 7.5 is fair. I mean, out of all the things he had to deal with this year, I mean, you look how many teams got postponed games because of the C word. You know, it's the injuries that he's had to deal with.
Chalobah? What? It's a joke.
Wow. Somebody could take that in a different way, and I'm not going to touch that. No, I think he's had. Yes, I do think there's mistakes he's made, but overall, I think he's kind of pushed us past mistakes in some areas. I think for the things he's had to deal with, he's done very well to get us to the position we're at. So for me, I think it's about moving forward with him and moving forward into his plan. I do think his whole thing about not switching formations, I think you're crazy. I think you need to do that. But that's not whether I should say about the season. So I'd say 7.5.
Okay. I was going to give him a 7, but I think you're both fair, if I'm honest. Yeah, it's just sometimes the subs I disagree with. I obviously very publicly disagreed with his whole final drama of Loftus-Cheek. I know most people disagree, but don't really care what other people think. And the formation thing. But other than that, I don't think there's much you can criticize. Obviously, he was hampered a lot by injuries. Chilwell, Reece James, Hudson-Odoi, Kovacic, Kante, Jorginho. I mean, all of them, right? All of them have had their injuries. Lukaku had his injury. Lukaku's interview. The sanctions, like the fact that he had to be the spokesperson of the club. Even though, as much as we say that's harsh, I hope I don't sound like a robot again. But even though we say that's harsh, the fact that he was the spokesperson through all of this is the reason we all love him so much now. The Champions League was obviously one thing, but the fact that he led us through this means now we love him more and we back him more. So as much as it was difficult for him, I think for his power and his control in a good way and his backing of the fans, this was one of the best things that could have happened to him, if I'm honest. But yeah, going to give him a 7 from my end. Let's close this screen and let's show one other thing. Pi's tweeted it already, so I'm going to share Pi's tweet about it. Jules Koundé, of course, heavily linked to Chelsea Football Club. Basically, the second we are not sanctioned anymore, has been seen in London. Looks like London to me. Couldn't prove it to you, but looks like London to me. So that's interesting. Is he here on holiday? Is he here waiting for our sanctions to be...
I'm just going to post something else. I just messaged the guy that on the left. the Juve guy. I said, did he say anything? Wonder why he's here? And then he said, pretty sure he's here for Chelsea, bro. He said he's trying to join. So
He said that.
He's just
Apparently.
knocking on Stamford Bridge. Please let me in.
yeah,
Come on, finally. You didn't
Yeah,
let me
it-
come last year. Please come here now.
We don't own the club yet. We can't negotiate. Go away.
Hey, there
Yeah.
you go. There you go. Hey, give it a couple of days. Pice, do you reckon by Wednesday, Thursday, everything will be done?
Well, Ben Jacobs said middle of this week, so that'd be Wednesday. I mean, I don't know. It's weird. It's weird because we've not heard you know what's going to happen. It's going to go all quiet and then bang, it's just going to be done, and we're going to be like, what? How did that happen? Like we've gone from getting staggered updates to, you know what I mean? Like it's gone quiet. So hopefully it's in the home
We have
stretch.
till next Tuesday, I think.
Yeah, it won't be done because otherwise, I mean, why is Bowley in it? Oh, by the way, did you see? There's a
Monday,
picture,
by the
right?
way. I think Monday is the 31st.
There is a
isn't it?
picture. There's a
Tuesdays.
picture. Hans-Jörg Weiss was there, but also
What went
uh,
today?
no. Like I mean, you know, at the game, he was
Yeah.
there, but there was also Jose Feliciano from Clear Lake as well. If anyone was wondering, he was also there.
Fair play. Well, at least he's not like a walking corpse. I mean, I know people say, "Oh, we're a bit harsh to Hans-Jörg Weiss," but look at him, man. Come on, just go to your retirement home and enjoy your money, man. Don't be doing crazy things.
He fell on
You're-
his
you're-
face off wherever standing he was on.
Yeah, there you go. But like Oljo, however you want your name pronounced, Kunde's proper Chelsea. I mean, hey, couldn't be trying any harder, could he, to join us? Let me just get one last screen share up on screen where we have all the ratings compiled. If I can. Actually, bloody hell. Why is it not letting me share the pages screen? I need to. How do I do it now? Window. There you go. That's the one. It's lost permission to capture your screen. Why? I'm not even trying to make you share Google Chrome. Just share this one, please. Well, it's not letting me do it. I don't know why. How do I copy this to somewhere where I can see it then? Bloody hell. All right, we'll just do something a bit random, just because I don't have a better solution right now. Give me a second, guys. I'll be right there. But yeah, in the end, Clutch. Overriding thoughts of the season is just we weren't consistent enough, really. That's it. We were good on our day, but our days didn't come anywhere near regularly enough to really achieve greatness this season, did they?
No, I think that is the word. Consistency. We need players who consistently finish, consistently put in decent performances, not just consistent defense, which even that towards the end of the year wasn't a thing. We didn't have a consistent defense, you know. Mistakes, individual errors. Those are the kind of things that we need to block out if we want to start rising. Now, I know a lot of people are like going to freak out, but this is going to be our growing pains next 2 seasons or so. We are in a much better place than Liverpool were when they had their big change. So I think this is where I think us as fans have to learn to take a little bit of punishment, because it's not going to be exactly what we want for the next 2 years or so. I think a lot of this summer is going to be rebuilding, like Tuchel said. We're going to have to start getting players into key areas, and then we'll kind of start to go from there. We can't expect titles every year. Yes, maybe the FA Cup, maybe the Carabao Cup, but expecting like Champions League or the Premier League next year is just, it's an unrealistic goal for what we need. So it's going to be about growing like Liverpool have in the last couple of years. So that's where I think us as fans need to understand and get used to that idea. As much as I know under Abramovich, it's not been that. It's been instant success. Now it's not instant success anymore. It's going to be very much planning and growing rather than just instant happening. So us as fans, we've been so spoiled to find instant success. It's just not going to happen anymore. And I think we got to realize that.
We do. And it's also partly why we're probably less excited for next season than we have been for a while. And the frustrating part is also that we had this kind of new start rebuild already when we were hit with the transfer ban. And now 3 years later, we're having to do the whole thing again, which is the frustrating part. I'm not sure why everyone's asking me whether I'm good. It's because I'm coughing. I got ill when I was in London, the flight to London. It was so fucking cold. I was sat there with my jacket on, hood up, and I was still freezing my tits off. And for the longer I was in London, the more ill I got. Not blaming London, but the flight. And yeah, slowly getting past that now, thankfully. But yeah, a bit of coughing still going on. Now, in the end, my solution was I'll just copy it into a tweet, which is obviously way too many characters, but you can still read it. I just can't tweet it. So Mendy with a 7, Kepa with 7.5, might be dodgy, but here we are. James got a 9 in the end, Chile 7.5, Alonso 5, Aspi 6, Rüdiger 8.5, Christensen 7, Chalobah 7, Thiago Silva 9. So in terms of highest ratings, Thiago Silva and Reece James take the top spot in that sense. Malang Sarr with a 4, Kante 5.5, Jorginho 6.5, Kovacic got the 8 in the end, Loftus-Cheek 6.5, Saúl Niguez 3, Ross Barkley an 8 as goes for Kennedy and Harvey Vale, but I didn't write them down for whatever reason. Mount 8.5, Ziyech, Hudson Odoi and Pulisic all get a 6/6.5 because we couldn't really decide. Werner gets a 5, Havertz get a 6.5/7, and Lukaku gets, in my I threw a cheeky 4.5 in there at the end because the more I thought about it, the more triggered I got. And then Tuchel got a 7/7.5. I hope you don't hate us too much for the ratings. We tried our best. It was a very long stream. I appreciate every single one of you that has been here, that has tuned in today. Again, ladies and gentlemen, please do subscribe. Please check out Pice's website and his podcast, of course, ChelseaFC365.com. Please follow Clutch Pice. Any last words, any last thoughts on the season? Is it as simple as myself and Clutch said it? We just didn't have the consistency. And now we need a rebuild, unfortunately, which means we can't really build on anything we've done in the last 2 years.
Pretty much, yeah. Looking forward to the summer window, I guess. Gonna be lots of streams, I guess. And yeah, just discussing transfers. It's transfer season now. It's nearly takeover season. Hopefully, with the ownership. So yeah, looking forward to it. Hopefully, we can do some good business. Hopefully, we spend a lot of money, but obviously not just throw money about like we have been. Hopefully, we think about signings, and yeah, just looking forward to see what the club have got planned. Really, not looking like the structure is going to change imminently, but we'll see what happens this summer. Because I mean, effectively, as much as I dislike Marina, she is kind of on a fresh slate under a new ownership, you could guess. So I mean, we'll see what happens. Yeah.
We'll see what happens. By the way, Ahmed, just get yourself an iPhone because you keep trying to use emojis, but other than you, nobody can see them. And also, what kind of weird numbers are you two talking here? Bank details are what? What are you talking about? I'm so confused. But ladies and gentlemen, hey, I appreciate your... Hey, we've been streaming for 2.5 hours. You might all be as delirious as I am. So we're going to leave it at this. Thank you guys for watching. Up to Chelsea, upwards and onwards. Subscribe and like and everything. And we'll see you next time.